This is the Man in Black, here again to introduce Columbia's program, Suspense. Our star tonight is Peter Lorre, playing the part of the Hungarian Count Stefan Kahari, a gentleman of sinister aspect. The story is by John Dixon Carr, who calls it The Devil's Saint. If you have been with us on these Tuesday nights, you will know that suspense is compounded of mystery and suspicion and dangerous adventure. In this series are tales calculated to intrigue you, to stir your nerves, to offer you a precarious situation, and then withhold the solution till the last possible moment. And so, it is with The Devil's Saint and Mr. Peter Lorre's performance we again hope to keep you in suspense. The Devil's Saint. Paris, 15 years ago. Paris as it used to be, when lights twinkled from the old Trocadero to the hill of Sacré-Cœur, when taxicabs honked and the beat of tangos swayed, and Chinese lanterns gleamed above the lake in the Bois, when, in short, you and I were young. Come then to the President's Ball at the Opera, St. Catherine's Day, 1927. A fancy dress ball at the Opera, filling these marble halls with a multitude of masks and a multitude of dreams. The mosaic decorations are no less bright than the colors that weave here. Harlequins and Columbine, Cleopatra and Musketeers. In the great marble foyer, remember it? They have set out little tables and lines of palms behind which you may sit screened. Look at one such table. A young man wearing the scarlet and gold uniform of an English Guards officer in Wellington's day. A dark-haired young girl in the costume of a bacchante. And as we approach...
Ned, don't, please, you mustn't.
Well, why not? You really don't mind, do you?
No, of course I don't mind, only you mustn't. Oh, Ned.
Look here, Alona. We've got to settle this thing. You have enjoyed being here tonight, haven't you?
Ned, I've loved it. After being cooped up at my uncle's place in the country, it's like heaven.
All right. When I take you back to the hotel, I'm going to face this uncle of yours tonight.
No, please don't.
I'm going to say that you and I intend to get married, and that's that.
I can't marry you, Ned. I've told you that.
But why not? Just give me one good reason.
Because I can't. My uncle, he would never allow it. Never.
And that seems to you a good reason enough?
Yes, Ned.
This uncle of yours, what's his name?
Count Stefan Kahari.
He's a Hungarian, I think you said.
Yes, so am I. My mother was an American.
What's he like, actually?
Oh, he's a little eccentric. Oh, please don't misunderstand. He's a great scholar and a historian, only he's a little strange. Ned.
What is it?
There he is now.
Your uncle?
Yes, that elegant man in plain evening clothes, with the Order of the Golden Fleece across his chest.
Oh, I see him. Oh, he looks as black as a thundercloud.
He's throwing those two dressed as devils aside as though they didn't exist. Give me my mask quick before he sees us.
No, Alona.
Why not?
We'd better face this out now. Sit still.
Good evening, Ilona.
Good evening, Uncle Stefan. Uncle, may I present Edward Whiteford?
How do you do, sir?
How do you do? Ilona, do you think that costume is quite the thing to wear in public?
Why not?
Well, an older generation might call it immodest. It looks like...
Like what?
Nothing. Will you go and get your cloak or your domino or whatever you wore here?
Uncle, please don't make me go home so soon. It's hardly 11 o'clock.
I was not asking you to go home, my dear. I was merely asking you to put on a wrap.
All right, I'll get it. You stay and talk to Ned.
I shall be delighted.
Will you sit down, sir?
Thank you. You seem to have quite a gathering at this table.
Oh, yes. Some friends of mine from the embassy. They're upstairs dancing now.
Well, look, glasses, and still more glasses. You know, I was quite an adept once at musical gases. Have you ever tried it, young man? Well, it's very easy. You take a spoon like this, you see, and... Like it?
Well, forgive me, sir, but there's something I'd like to ask you.
Yes?
I don't know exactly how to say this, so I'd better say it in the shortest way. I want to marry your niece. Oh, look out, sir. You smashed one of the glasses.
A few francs will pay for that. But there are other things of higher value. At least to me.
Oh, maybe I ought to mention first that my full name is Lord Edward Whiteford. My father's the Earl of Grey.
Indeed.
Why, I only mention that to show we're, well, respectable enough. Well, the British ambassador will vouch for me, sir, if you'd like to ring him up.
And perhaps I ought to mention that I've always kept Ilona carefully guarded from the world.
Almost too carefully guarded, don't you think?
That, Lord Edward, depends on my reasons.
Sorry, sir.
You have known Ilona about how long?
4 days.
4 days. You wouldn't even choose a business partner in 4 days. Yet to want to marry my Ilona after 4 days.
But we know our own minds, sir.
You do, huh? Then you know more than the wisest man in this world. However, as one whose dearest wish is Ilona's happiness,
I hope it is, Count Harry.
Do you doubt what I say?
Oh, no, sir.
Well, I will make you a proposition. I own an estate in Touraine, not far from Paris. A little chateau, a few hundred acres, fishing. Very good stable of horses.
I know. Ilona told me.
Oh, she did? Well, then here is my suggestion. Why not come down and visit us for a week or two?
Why, that's very decent of you, sir.
Oh, not at all, not at all. And if at the end of that time you're not cured of this infatuation...
Oh, it's not an infatuation. I swear it's not.
No? Well, if at the end of that time you're not cured permanently of this feeling, you may take Ilona. And with my blessing. That's fair, isn't it?
Oh, it's more than fair, Uncle Harry. I don't know how to thank you.
Oh, well, please, don't even try. And at least I can promise you a very interesting experience. You see, at the Chateau d'Azay, there is one certain bedroom. We call it the tapestry room.
Yes?
Well, I assure you, it'll be very interesting for you to sleep in that room.
Why? Is it haunted or something?
Oh, no. No, not haunted. Well, now, if you don't mind, I shall say goodnight, and I hope I can trust you to bring Ilona safely to the hotel. Au revoir. Look over there.
What is it, sir?
Just look. Streams of our fellow guests pouring down a main staircase. Shapes of nightmare. Shapes of delirium. Insane dead masks. Only the eyes move. Wouldn't we be terrified, perhaps, if he would look behind those gargoyle faces?
Oh, no, I don't think so. They're only ordinary people like ourselves.
That, sir, is where you make your mistake. Well, I shall expect you for the weekend, and encore une fois, au revoir.
Ned.
It's all right, Ilona. You can come out from behind those palms.
What was he saying? I couldn't hear.
Ilona, it couldn't be better. Well, he's a very decent old boy, actually. And he's invited me to the Chateau d'Azay.
Did he say anything about the tapestry room?
Yes. He invited me to sleep there.
And you said?
I said I would, naturally.
You mustn't do it, Ned. I won't let you do it.
Why the devil not?
Because everybody who sleeps in that room dies.
Dies? Are you serious?
Oh, Ned, please don't do it.
Oh, nonsense. There are a lot of superstitions about every old house.
This isn't a superstition, Ned. It happened once when I was a little girl. A man insisted on sleeping there. They found him dead in the morning.
So? How did he die?
They don't know. There wasn't a mark on his body. He wasn't shot or stabbed or strangled or poisoned or hurt in any way. He was just dead.
Two nights later, in the province of France now known as Indre-et-Loire, but once called Touraine, the ancient land beloved of Rabelais and Balzac. But now, as the wind moans down the valleys, and rain flickers across the apple trees, and thunder stirs in those haunted hills, it can bring little comfort to a young man driven in an ancient carriage from the railway station along snake-like roads. To what destination? Ahead, A lift of lightning shows the gray walls and conical slate-roofed towers of a chateau set some distance back from the road. Lights shine from its narrow windows, dimly seen through the rain as...
Driver! Coachman!
Oui, monsieur.
Is that the Chateau d'Azay up ahead?
Oui, monsieur. I will take you to the very door if
what? Why do you cross yourself?
I am permitted.
What should stop you?
Only fear, monsieur. And I am not much afraid.
Listen. What was that?
Only the dogs, monsieur. They keep many dogs, large dogs, at the Chateau d'Azay. Well, here we are. Bonsoir, monsieur. And if I may be permitted a word of advice...
Well?
Beware of the tapestry room.
There isn't a bell on this door. There might at least be a knocker. Ah, got it.
Et alors, monsieur? Vous cherchez?
Je cherche le Château d'Azay et
Perhaps it would be better if monsieur spoke English, yes? You are Lord Edward Whiteford.
Yes.
Monsieur is expected. Please to enter. Monsieur's hat and coat.
Thank you.
Ned.
Hello, Elona. Oh,
Un breath pas ma petite, votre uncle.
Oh, you'd better not kiss me, Ned. Madame Flay says to look out for my uncle. Madame Flay is our housekeeper.
Oh. Well, where's your uncle now?
In the drawing room. He's playing the piano. Come along.
Elona, is anything wrong?
Oh, everything's wrong. 2 of my dogs were in horrible pain this afternoon. Dr. Solomon had to put them out with chloroform.
You don't think that...
I hope nobody's practicing, that's all. Well, here we are.
Oh, nice tiger skins on the floor. I say, who's the little old man with the gray beard sitting over there by the fire?
That's Dr. Solomon.
Oh, hasn't he funny-looking eyes?
He watches and watches and watches. He's an old friend of the family.
Shh, come along. Let's get this over with.
Ah, Lord Edward. Well, I see my niece has anticipated me. Welcome to the Chateau d'Azay.
Thank you, Count Harry.
Oh, you must be very wet after your long drive. Go up to the fire and warm yourself. Madame Flay.
Yes, monsieur?
Please tell Antoine to take our guest's luggage up to the tapestry room.
The tapestry room, monsieur?
That is what I said, Madame Flay.
Yes, monsieur.
By an odd coincidence, Lord Edward, Dr. Solomon and I were just discussing the fate of the last person who slept in a tapestry room.
This is not good, my friend. This is against my advice.
It's against his advice. Here, Dr. Solomon croaking.
This is not good, I tell you. It is the wrong season of the moon.
The wrong moon. But there is no moon tonight. It's raining cats and dogs.
Don't talk about dogs.
Nevertheless, it is the wrong season of the moon. I say no more.
Cheerful blighter, that doctor.
Don't do it, Ned. I won't be responsible if they make you do it.
But look here, Count Harry. What did happen to the last bloke who slept in the tapestry
You
room?
mustn't call him a bloke, sir. He was a very saintly gentleman. The Bishop of Tours. That was some time ago when Elona was only 15 years old, but surely she must remember it.
I remember it.
The church, said our bishop, has no use for superstitions. Well, he insisted on sleeping there. I made it as comfortable for him as possible, but he was found dead next morning with a crucifix still in his hand.
Was it poison?
There was no poison, monsieur.
No. Here, Dr. Solomon.
It's true, Ned.
Well, there were just 2 very curious things. You see, in connection with that death, on a mantelpiece there was found burning a stick of incense. Just ordinary incense, nothing wrong with it.
Yes, sir?
And under the dressing table, the police found it was an empty jar of ointment. Now, here's your wits. A dead man, some burning incense, and an empty jar of ointment. What do you make of that?
Oh, I don't make anything of it. It's crazy.
Please do not speak like that.
I'm sorry.
It is still the wrong season of the moon.
Well, what I really meant, sir, was this. Is there any reason for this story of death?
Reason?
Any legend attached to the room or anything like that?
Yes, there is.
Well, sir?
Well, we are a very old family, Lord Edward. Old and perhaps accursed. When my ancestors moved from Hungary to France in the 17th century, they brought certain beliefs with them. The old religion.
The old religion?
Yes, the cult of Diana, the cult of Janus, the cult of freedom and fertility. The witch cult, if you prefer.
Oh, now look here, sir.
Must we talk about this?
Well, you smile, but when I say the word witch, you think of some humorous picture on a Halloween's card. It was very different in the Middle Ages, believe me. Then, my friend, there existed an organized religion which rivaled the church. There were many to worship unashamed at the grand Sabbath. Many to receive all favors from Saturn, their master, and to dance forever, joyously in the red, flaming quadrants of hell. Some 200 years ago, an ancestress of mine, Katerina Kohari, was tortured to death in a tapestry room for professing the old religion. Many persons have not thought it safe to sleep there since. Are you answered?
Oh, come, sir. This is some kind of elaborate joke, isn't it?
Joke? The Bishop of Tours did not find it a joke.
Not a mark on his body. I assure you as a physician, not a mark on his body.
No, not a mark on his body. Hear Dr. Solomon.
Yes, I hear him.
Well, understand me, Lord Edward, there's no compulsion in this. If you do wish to sleep in that room, all right. If you don't
ridiculous.
wish...
I'm not afraid to sleep there, sir.
Well, I thought perhaps you wanted to change your mind.
Oh, never. Would you like me to make a wager on that?
What sort of wager?
Well, if I spend the night in this famous room and come out of it alive...
Yes?
Will you give your consent to the marriage immediately? Tomorrow morning?
Tomorrow morning? Why?
Because I don't think the atmosphere of this house is good for a loner. What do you say? Will you do it?
Very well, Lord Edward. I accept the terms of your wager.
Don't do it, Ned. For the love of heaven, don't do it.
High up in the north tower of the Chateau d'Azay, under the conical slate roof, is the circular room hung with faded tapestries. These tapestries move slightly with uneasy, mimic life to the clamor of the storm outside. Candles burn along the mantelpiece and beside the great four-poster bed. The flames of these candles waver, too, as the door opens.
This is the tapestry room, monsieur.
Thank you, Madame Flay.
That is the mantelpiece where the incense burned. That is the bed where Monseigneur le Bishop died.
Very inviting, isn't it?
Will there be anything else monsieur requires? Some sandwiches, a decanter of whiskey?
Oh, no, thanks. I had a drink with the Count Kohari before I came upstairs.
Bien, monsieur. Monsieur's shaving water will be brought up in the morning, if he requires it. Good night.
That old Hoppy. Trying to scare a fellow out of his wits just because... Oh, I hope they built a good fire anyway. Didn't realize how cold it was. Temperature must have dropped. What's that?
It's me, Ilona. May I come in?
No, Ilona. Get out of here.
That's not very gallant of you.
No, I mean, I don't want you exposed to whatever it is.
Ned, listen. Are you going to bed? Or are you going to sit up all night?
I'm going to sit up all night, naturally.
Then let me sit up with you.
No.
Why not?
Well, it may be dangerous. Besides, I promised your uncle I'd go through with this alone.
I wish you hadn't had that drink with him.
Why? He couldn't have done anything to it. It was you who poured it.
Yes, that's true, only Listen.
What is that?
It sounds like footsteps.
Yes, but where's it coming from?
Seems to be right here in the room.
It seems to come from all directions.
Doesn't it sound like somebody walking between the walls?
By George, it is someone walking inside the wall. Get behind that tapestry, Lorre. Quick. Hide there. Count Kohari, where did you come from?
Oh, forgive me, Lord Edward, for seeming to appear out of the wall and between the tapestries. Like Mephisto appearing to Faust, huh? And this red dressing gown perhaps adds to the effect, too.
How'd you get here? A passage between the walls?
Yes, exactly. Little device my ancestors for visiting this room. You know, they invented that when its occupant was so unmannerly as to bolt the door.
Door's not bolted. You could have walked straight in.
But I couldn't have done it unobserved.
No. Maybe not.
Have you had any other visitors, Lord Edward?
No.
Are you quite sure of that?
Quite sure.
Well, then, since nobody saw me come here, I'll just sit down by the fire. Please sit opposite me.
Is this the showdown, sir?
I don't understand.
Well, there's got to be a showdown between us. Is that why you're here?
Oh, I'm here, young man, to explain certain things to you. Will you have a cigarette?
Thank you.
Oh, they're perfectly all right. That is what you're afraid of?
I'll have one, yes.
A light?
Thank you.
Well, when I was discussing the witch cult a while ago, you didn't appear to think I meant what I said.
Do you want a perfectly frank answer to that?
Yes?
I think you're mad enough to mean anything.
What you say, in a sense, is quite true. Seeing an old and inbred family like ours, the mind can crack, and the fantasies of witchcraft become as real, well, more real than the living world. Let me give you an example.
Go on.
The saucer on a table beside you is Ming porcelain. It was once owned by Katerina Kohari, a martyr of the old religion. Yet you are using it as an ashtray.
Oh, I beg the witch lady's pardon. I'll blow off the ash.
Well, that's a very dangerous remark, sir. Don't you understand that the worship of evil can be as strong and compelling as the worship of good? That the devil can have his saints, too? That to a sick brain which knows but can't help itself, you have profaned this room merely by entering it. And therefore, you deserve to die.
Like the Bishop of Tours?
Exactly.
You're not going to tell me the devil killed him?
The devil's agent may be flesh and blood.
Then it was murder.
Oh, of course it was murder. Murder so cunningly contrived that no one ever saw through it.
Go on.
I asked you before to use your wits on this problem. Well, look, incense was burned in this room. You know why?
Suppose you tell me.
Well, obviously, I think to conceal something else, which would be too easily noticed.
To conceal what?
For instance, the smell of chloroform.
Chloroform?
Yes. A drug not very well understood by laymen. Dr. Solomon, by the way, was using chloroform this afternoon to dispose of some dogs.
So I've heard.
Well, Dr. Solomon is old and very forgetful.
You mean chloroform could be stolen?
Oh, yes, it could be easily. Now, just suppose I take a pad saturated with chloroform. I place it over the mouth and nostrils of a man already sleeping or drugged so that he gets no air.
Wait a minute. That won't do.
Why not?
Chloroform burns and blisters when it touches the skin. You'd leave marks.
Oh, not at all, my friend. Not at all. If I first covered the mouth and nostrils with some substance like...
Ointment.
Yes. Now you're waking up.
Hi.
Now observe what follows. In a few seconds, unconsciousness. In 2 minutes or 3 minutes, death.
Certain death, yes.
Oh, but chloroform, you see. It evaporates very quickly. There is no trace in the stomach since nothing has been swallowed. Well, delay your post-mortem for 24 hours. Very easy matter in these country districts, and no trace remains in the blood. Murder without a mark, Lord Edward. Murder without a mark.
You can't do it, Count Kohani. There's one thing you're forgetting.
What is that?
I'm not sleeping and I'm not drugged.
Oh, yes, you are.
How? When? In the cigarette?
No. In a drink you had with me.
What was it?
Morphine. And you've had enough to put 3 men to sleep.
Ah.
See, that's it. Well, try to get up.
I'll do it. I'll do it.
You see? You've knocked over the fire irons. You'd have been in a fire yourself if I hadn't caught you.
Take your hands off me.
Just as you please.
If I could reach that bell pull.
Well, but you can't. Well, better sit down again.
You murdering lunatic. So that's how you killed the Bishop of Tours. And that's how you're going to kill me.
Who, I? Well, you don't think I killed the Bishop of Tours.
Didn't you?
You fool. I'm not trying to kill you. I'm trying to save you. Dr. Solomon.
Yes, monsieur.
Well, come out. Come in the room. Come out and be my witness.
Yes, monsieur. I shall always guard the family honor, even when I guess how men die.
This young man evidently thinks I've been talking about myself. Am I, in a popular parlance, insane?
Oh, monsieur. Heaven forbid. I have never known a saner man.
Have you any notion, Lord Edward, why I brought you to this house? You would never have believed me if I had merely told you. So I had to bring you here to show you.
Show me what?
What?
Look at the tapestries.
Come out of there!
Behind them.
Come out of there! Hey, come out!
Ilona!
Yes, Ilona. Why do you think I've kept Ilona so well guarded from the world? Why, at a fancy dress ball, for instance, did I object to the costume of a medieval witch whose dogs were poisoned so that chloroform should be brought? Who poured the drink drugged with morphine?
In the devil's name, what are you trying to tell me?
It was Ilona. She's been helplessly, hopelessly insane for more than 10 years.
And so closes The Devil's Saint, starring Peter Lorre. Tonight's tale of suspense. This is your narrator, the man in black, who conveys to you Columbia's invitation to spend this half hour in suspense with us again next Tuesday.
William Spear, the producer, John Dietz, the director, Bernard Herrmann, the composer-conductor, and John Dixon Carr, the author, are collaborators on
Suspense.
This is the Columbia Broadcasting System.
This is the Man in Black. Here again to introduce Columbia's program, Suspense. Our star tonight is Bela Lugosi, playing the part of Professor Antonio Basile, psychologist. The story is by J. Donald Wilson, who calls it The Doctor Prescribed Death. If you have been with us on these Tuesday nights, you will know that suspense is compounded of mystery and suspicion and dangerous adventure. This series of tales is calculated to intrigue you, stir your nerves, to offer you a precarious situation, and then withhold the solution until the last possible moment. And so it is with the Doctor Prescribed Death and Bela Lugosi's performance. We again hope to keep you in suspense. Professor Antonio Basile has a theory, but let him tell you about it.
As a psychologist, I have worked out a theory I know to be sound. I contend that a person who has decided to kill himself can very easily be turned from this desire to the desire of taking the life of another. I can prove my theory, and if necessary, that is exactly what I will do.
Yes, Professor Antonio Basile has a theory, but only a theory. And he's worried about what his publisher will say, so he visits the editor, whose name is Hellman. Hellman finishes the manuscript and tosses it on the desk. Professor Basile leans forward eagerly and...
Well, Hellman, what do you think?
Professor Basile, it's purely conjecture, simply a theory, and I wouldn't advise publishing it.
I worked on that theory for a long time. I'm positive of it. I know it'll work.
Suppose it will. What good is it? What good have you accomplished if you can prove it'll work?
Are you laughing at me, Hellman?
It's so silly. An ordinary human being has suffered reverses. Is sick of it all. He wants to leave it all behind. And you say he can be changed to want to kill someone else.
I do. Self-destruction and the destruction of other life are closely related in the mind. The dividing line is very thin.
It's ridiculous.
And you won't publish it?
Granger would fire me.
Why?
He told me that, in his opinion, you should be in the asylum.
Mr. Granger said that. Does he think I'm insane?
How do I know?
Hellman, Mr. Granger didn't say that. It's you who thinks I'm crazy. You've never liked me. For some reason, you are trying to tear me down. Well, we'll see, Mr. Hellman. We'll see.
Now, wait a minute.
I'll show you whether my works are illogical. I'll show you whether I'm insane.
Oh, calm down.
I'm going to make you eat those words. I know you don't like me, but I'm going to prove that my theory is sound. Good night.
Wait a minute. Basile, wait.
You wait, Hellman. You wait.
Yes, wait, Hellman. Wait. Professor Basile, seething with resentment, rushes from the office and strides angrily down the street.
Insane, huh? I'll prove my theory. I'll find a subject. I'll find someone who wants to take his own life.
And so Basile goes home, late for dinner. He finds a note from his wife, Myra, saying she's decided to attend the opera and will be home around 11:30. Then Professor Basile gets an inspiration. He goes to the bridge over the deep canyon, the bridge called Suicide. And strangely enough, he hasn't long to wait. As he stands against the railing in the fog, a figure appears a few feet beyond, stops, prepares to leap.
Don't do it. Wait a minute. Listen.
Huh?
That's very silly.
Let go of me.
Oh, no. I couldn't do that. I need you.
I don't need you.
Don't you know this is against the law?
You're not an officer. You can't stop me.
It's 500 feet to those tracks below. Hard steel rails. And don't believe what they all tell you about not being conscious of what happened. You'd know. People don't die instantly.
Let loose.
They lie in agony for minutes and sometimes for an hour. It's a horrible death, I know.
How do you know?
I'm a doctor.
Doctor?
Yes. I can tell you much simpler ways, much less painful ways, and quicker. You're a nice young girl, an intelligent girl. You wouldn't want it to happen this way. Maybe after I talk to you a while, you wouldn't want to do this at all.
No?
No. But come on. Let's talk it over. Maybe a few minutes' talk will change the entire picture for you.
What could you do to help me?
If you'll come, I'll tell you. There's a motive back of your wanting to do this, and I'd like to know what it is.
Nothing doing.
Haven't you any relatives? Any loved ones you'd like to do something for?
Yes?
Then if you talk with me for a while, maybe I can find my way clear to help those people.
You sound crazy to me.
Oh, no.
All right, I'll... Where?
My apartment.
Let's go.
Well, here we are. Come in, please.
Well, what do you want to know?
Sit down first. Are you hungry?
No, I'm not that broke. It isn't poverty.
I knew that. I could tell by your clothes. Now, first, why did you come here?
Why? Why, because you talked me into it.
I see. You're not afraid of me?
Afraid? In my frame of mind. What can I lose?
Suppose I told you that I really brought you here to kill you.
Kill me?
You know, you're a very pretty girl, don't you?
Yeah? That doesn't always mean so much.
The right man, it might.
That's what I thought. But I found out it didn't mean a thing.
Ah, then it was because of a man. I knew it.
Really? How did you guess?
I'm a student of psychology. I'm Professor Antonio Basil.
I see. And you want to know what makes me tick. You want to know the reason behind my action tonight.
That's right. I would like to know what happened to make you want to kill yourself. Suicide is a mental aberration.
Yeah?
I'd like to know what preceded the decision to destroy yourself. And what you thought about until the moment I stopped you on the bridge.
What good will that do me?
You said you weren't broke, but you also said you had some loved ones you'd like to do something for.
I meant I wasn't broke to the point of being hungry. I have a few dollars. But you suggested help for someone in larger terms.
Yes, I did. Who is the loved one?
My mother.
You are her only means of support?
Yes.
And you intend to kill yourself?
Yes.
That's being selfish, isn't it?
Selfish?
Yes. You are concentrating solely on self.
You think so?
What else? The first law of human nature is self-preservation, right?
I suppose so.
The second law is the preservation of family.
Yeah?
So you decide to deny the first law and destroy yourself. And as a consequence, deny the second and leave your mother alone and in need. You indicate a form of insanity.
What would be normal?
To destroy the other person. The one who has done you wrong. Have you hurt him?
No.
Then the one who has done wrong should be the one to suffer. You have no legal recourse?
Legal recourse? No, I haven't, I'm sorry to say.
And you would kill yourself to let your poor mother suffer because of the wrong of another. Why shouldn't he be the one to suffer?
I suppose you're right. Why shouldn't he?
What happened after all? Why not tell me about it? Were you married?
No. He never seemed to find time to get around to marriage.
What's your name?
Gladys. Gladys Tanner.
How long had you known him?
Almost 4 years.
And you always thought he meant to marry you?
Yes. Until 3 weeks ago.
Yes?
On July 1st, he had to leave town for a week on business. Said he was going to Kansas City. When he came back, he seemed to be too busy to see me. Then a week ago, I found a snapshot along with several others in his desk in his home.
May I see it?
Certainly. It's a a picture of him and another woman. But the picture was not taken in Kansas City.
It wasn't?
No, it was taken on the beach at Atlantic City. And it's dated by the finisher, July 3rd. Since he returned, he's refused to see me. Yesterday, he finally said he didn't care to see me anymore. That I'd better forget him.
But it isn't so easy as that, is it?
No. I figured I'd done something. And blame myself.
Do you know this blonde woman in this snapshot?
No.
Then it must be a woman he has met recently. You've known him for 4 years. I don't think you are to blame. He's the one in the wrong. And he should be made to suffer.
How?
You were going to kill yourself. Why should you? Kill him instead. He double-crossed you. He deserves it. Now, let me go a little deeper into the situation. Whenever a person has reached the conclusion to take his life... You are sure you have made up your mind, Miss Tanner?
Positive.
Now, if you're careful, you won't be caught.
No.
But whether you are or not, I'm giving you this check for $1,000 made out to cash to be sent to your mother only after the man is dead. Write his name on this pad.
There you are.
I will know what has happened by the newspapers. And I will withhold payment until I learn that you have gone through with it.
It'll happen tonight.
Very well. You are sure? You are determined?
Absolutely. Nothing could stop me.
Very good.
But just what would happen if I did get caught?
You won't get caught if you follow my instructions. I know. Now, here is a small revolver. It'll fit easily in your purse. That's all you need. Be sure to wipe your fingerprints off and leave the gun near the body.
Well, goodbye, Dr. Basile.
Goodbye, Gladys, and good luck.
Professor Basile watches Gladys as she crosses the street to the dimly lighted bus stop. Then he rushes to his car and drives away. A few minutes later, he comes to a stop at Hellman's house. Hellman, the editor who ridiculed his theory.
Just a minute. Oh. Hello, Basile.
Good evening, Herman. Thought I'd drop out to have a little chat with you.
Well, why this time of night? It's kind of late, isn't it?
11. Didn't think that was late for you.
No? Come in.
Thanks.
Sit down. What's on your mind?
I want to talk to you about my theory you ridicule so definitely. My theory about suicide.
Oh. Well, I just don't believe it, that's all.
And I said I'd prove it, didn't I?
Yes, but what are you getting at?
It's going to be proved. My theory is going to be proved tonight.
Well, that's fine. Go right ahead and prove it.
I don't like you, Hellman. I never liked you. And I know you don't like me.
I can't help that, Basile. What are you staring at?
Is there someone here with you?
Certainly not. Why?
That's a woman's purse on the Davenport.
Oh, my secretary dropped by earlier this evening with the manuscript. She must have forgotten it.
She's not here now?
Of course not.
Then I'll continue. I found a subject. A girl who was ready to commit suicide because a man jilted her. In a few hours, I was successful in changing her thoughts from suicide to homicide, and she is going to kill the man tonight. What do you think of that?
There may be a dozen murders tonight.
Ah, but you'll know which one I mean. You'll know about this murder.
What do you mean?
Because I'm going to tell you who the victim is going to be.
You know who the intended victim is? Why don't you stop it?
But then I wouldn't have proved my theory.
If you put this girl up to it, you're as guilty as she is. You're insane, Basile, hopelessly insane.
You think so, Herman?
The whole idea is mad, too utterly ridiculous for words. No sane man would ever think of such a useless, senseless idea. And for heaven's sake, stop laughing.
I'm thinking about the victim when he learned.
Who is the victim?
Martin Hellman.
Me?
Yes, you.
I don't believe you.
You will this time.
Who is this girl? I know no girl who'd want to kill me.
This one does. Now.
Oh, nonsense. However, I wouldn't put it past you to hire someone to do something like this.
No, this girl is no fake. This girl is serious, deadly serious.
You probably hypnotized some poor woman, figuring she'd never remember what happened.
Oh, Hellman, you underestimate me.
Maybe I do underestimate your evil mind. But believe
Put
me...
up your hands, Hellman. Get away from the desk. I'll just take care of that gun, Hellman. That's better.
Well, since when did you start carrying a gun, Basile?
A gun? Don't be silly. This isn't a gun in my pocket. It's just my pipe. See? Well, what do you hear, Herman?
Nothing.
Oh, yes, you do. I heard it, too. A sound on the porch. I leave now. The back way. I put your gun in the kitchen. And I'll be very careful to remove all my fingerprints.
You insane fool.
Oh, fancy you. You, Hellman, you are going to help prove my theory. Good night, Hellman.
Crazy devil. I'll have him locked up before he gets across town.
Good evening, Mr. Hellman.
Huh? How did you get in here?
Through the patio door.
What do you want?
I wanted to talk to you.
Very strangely.
You're just imagining things.
And what are you doing here?
I wanted to tell you something.
Yeah? What?
When you first indicated to me that you were through with me, I was terribly hurt. I thought all along that we were to be married. I couldn't understand. I tried and tried to think of something I'd done to cause our breakup. Then I happened to find this snapshot in your desk.
Snapshot?
Take a look at it. Kansas City. No, Atlantic City, New Jersey. You and a blonde. And the date is stamped on the back. A business trip. Ha!
Well, what about it?
I just wanted you to know that you weren't so slick. I wanted you to know that I knew about the blonde. That I knew you'd lied.
Now that you've told me, what good does it do you?
A lot of good.
First, I thought you came here for money.
How could you think such a thing?
Well, I think you'd better go now.
I'm going. Goodbye, Morton. And good luck in your new venture.
What venture?
This one.
Gladys. Gladys!
And wish me luck in mine.
Gladys stands staring a moment at the body of Hellman, then wipes off the gun, drops it to the floor, takes the professor's check from her purse, steps to Hellman's desk and writes a note. Then she puts the note in an envelope with the check, addresses it, stamps it, turns out the lights, and steps out into the dark street. At the corner, she drops the envelope in the mailbox and disappears. Professor Basile heard the shots. His theory worked. Hellman will torment him no more. The perfect crime. So he can go home to his wife now and go to sleep.
Myra.
Huh? What? Oh, Antonio.
What are you doing asleep on the Davenport? You know what time it is?
It must be after midnight. I've been waiting for you.
How was opera?
Oh, fair. Nothing to brag about.
Who sang the lead?
Belchiati. He wasn't very good.
Belchiati?
Mm-hmm. He's a poor Othello.
Othello? I thought they were doing Aida tonight.
No, they switched because someone was ill. Oh, I just as soon have stayed home.
Have a nightcap, Myra.
No, thanks. I'm tired. I think I'll go to bed.
I'll be along presently. Good night.
Then the night passes and the morning comes. The professor rises cheerfully and prepares for breakfast. Then...
I get it, Myra. Yes?
Are you Professor Basile?
Yes.
May we come in? We'd like to talk with you.
Of course. What is it you want?
Is your wife in?
Yes.
We'd like to see her, too.
What?
Oh, I'm Lieutenant Davis. Detective headquarters.
Well, what do you want?
Will you call your wife?
Why, certainly. Myra! But what's this all about?
What is it, Antonio?
These men are from detective headquarters. They want to talk to us.
Really? What about?
May I ask where you were last night, Mrs. Basile?
Certainly. I went to the opera.
What time did you get home?
Oh, I imagine it was around 11 or shortly after.
Mm-hmm. Were you at home last evening, Professor?
Well, I was at the club and got home about 12:30.
By the way, do you know a Morton Hellman?
Certainly.
What about him?
He's been murdered.
Murdered?
Good Lord. When?
Around midnight last night. I found him this morning.
How terrible. Why, I've known him for years. He was editor-in-chief of the company publishing my writings. I'm a psychologist, you know.
Yes, we know.
But what do you want to know from us? We weren't connected socially with Hellman. Just in business.
Did you know him, Mrs. Basile?
Yes, I knew him very slightly.
Do either of you know of anyone who'd have reason to kill him?
Certainly not. Everyone thought highly of him.
Did you ever hear of a girl named Gladys Tanner?
Gladys Tanner? No.
Did you know of a Gladys Tanner, Mrs. Basile?
No.
Is this your purse, Mrs. Basile?
Why, of course it is. That's the one I gave you last Christmas, Myra.
Well, yes. I must have lost it downtown.
Where did you find it, Lieutenant?
At Hellman's home.
Hellman's home? Well, how in the world?
Good heavens, but
we found it on the sofa.
Well, I can't imagine how it could get there.
And this is the revolver that killed Hellman, found on the floor beside him.
What?
No fingerprints on it, however.
What?
May I see it? Why, Myra, this is your gun. I bought this for you 2 years ago when I went on the lecture tour.
Yes, I think it's mine, but it just doesn't make sense.
Did you have the gun in your purse when you lost it last night?
Well, perhaps I did. I'm so confused now I can't remember.
That thing, Myra. The thing, it is terrible.
Oh, I know. Oh, dear, I feel ill.
Did you ever fire this gun?
Yes, once last year up in the mountains. I wanted to see how it worked.
Ever reload it?
No, I've never reloaded it. I just didn't think about it. Maybe I did put it in my purse. Why, I don't know. And whoever found the purse may have used the gun to... Oh, I just can't seem to think.
This gun misfired on the first 2 shots. The other 3 killed Hellman.
This is the most amazing piece of coincidence I ever heard of. Why would my wife want to do such a thing? Why should she get to Hellman? She hardly knew him.
Are you sure about that, Professor?
Of course.
Well, sorry to say that I don't believe her.
What? This is ridiculous.
This is going to be a shock to you, Professor, but here's a snapshot we found on Hellman's desk. Taken in Atlantic City last July.
Good heavens. Why, this is you, Myra. You and Hellman. You were at your mother's in Florida in July. Myra, look at me. What does this mean?
I can't.
And I can't believe such a thing.
May I have the purse, the gun, and the photo? Thank you. I'm sorry, but I'll have to take her down to headquarters.
But I didn't kill him. I didn't. I wouldn't. I loved him.
Myra. You better pull yourself together. You'll have to go back.
You'll want photos and fingerprints.
Yes. Better get it ready, Myra. Certainly looks bad for her.
Afraid it does. Looks like an open and shut case. Oh, will you come along too, Professor?
Certainly.
And so it all worked out beautifully. Not quite as the professor had planned. But then he changed his plan from the moment when Gladys Tanner showed him the snapshot taken in Atlantic City and he realized that the girl's fiancé was Hellman and that the blonde was Myra, his wife. He had no intention of allowing Gladys Tanner to kill Hellman until he saw that snapshot. And when he recognized Myra's purse in Hellman's home, he decided to let Gladys kill him and the blame be placed on Myra. The perfect crime. But several hours later, after fingerprints and many questions, the professor is just about to be dismissed when Sergeant Rankin steps into the room and speaks quietly to Lieutenant Davis.
What is it, Rankin?
I stayed at Basile's place, as you said.
Well?
A few minutes ago, a special delivery letter came for the professor. This'll knock your eye out. Read it.
Huh? Wow. This fits perfectly with the writing we were trying to make out on Helm's desk blotter. Professor, here's a letter sent special delivery to you a few minutes ago, postmarked last night. Read it.
Dear Professor Basile, your theory worked a certain degree. You convinced me I should kill him. But when that gun you gave me misfired twice, I almost quit.
Go ahead, Professor. Read on.
Then as I looked at him on the floor, the feeling of self-destruction came back. I'm going ahead with my plan. Here's your check. I won't need it. Besides, I lied to you. I lost my mother long ago. Better luck next time. Gladys Tanner.
And a half hour ago, they found her body beneath Suicide Bridge.
Well, Professor, your perfect crime has failed.
Failed? Yes, failed.
Wonderful setup on paper, but your theory backfired and you're up for murder.
But I didn't kill him.
But you planned it, and you're as guilty as Gladys. She's paid her penalty. Now it's your turn.
No. I won't be hanged. Never!
Rankin, grab him!
And now the doctor lies on the sidewalk 17 stories below. His entire theory worked in reverse. And so closes the doctor-prescribed death, starring Bela Lugosi. Tonight's story of Suspense. It came to you from Columbia Square in Hollywood. This is the man in black who conveys to you Columbia's invitation to spend this half hour in suspense with us again next Tuesday when we present the noted actor, Mr. Sidney Greenstreet, in The Hangman Won't Wait. William Spear, the producer, Ted Bliss, the director, Lud Gluskin, the musical director, Lucian Mahuik, the composer, and J. Donald Wilson, the author, collaborated on tonight's Suspense.
This is the Columbia Broadcasting System.
Suspense. This is the Man in Black, here again to introduce Columbia's program, Suspense. Our star tonight is Miss Mary Astor, one of Hollywood's most charming and resourceful actresses, and a lady who is no stranger to the art of keeping audiences in suspense. Ask anyone who saw her in The Maltese Falcon or Across the Pacific. The story called In Fear and Trembling by J. Donald Wilson is tonight's tale of suspense. If you have been with us on these Tuesday nights, you will know that suspense is compounded of mystery and suspicion and dangerous adventure. In this series are tales calculated to intrigue you, to stir your nerves, to offer you a precarious situation, and then withhold the solution until the last possible moment. And so it is with In Fear and Trembling and Miss Mary Astor's performance, we again hope to keep you in suspense. At the edge of the cliff, overlooking the sea, sits a gray stone mansion, weather-beaten by the storms of several decades. To this mansion, Gilbert Durant brought his bride, Lucia. That was 4 years ago. Gilbert and Lucia were quite happy until a year ago, when Lucia's half-sister Beverly came to live with them. Gradually, something began to happen. Lucia felt that some insidious horror was beginning to gnaw at her happiness. She began to know that Gilbert's ardor was beginning to cool. He became more absorbed in his writing. Then she felt the cold clamminess of the great stone structure creeping about her, clutching at her heart. Anyone who saw her could tell that fear was growing in her mind, a fear of something which she could not or would not explain. One evening, Lucia, having excused herself at dinner, tossed on her bed in a fretful sleep.
No. Don't. Get away from me!
Mrs. Durant, what's wrong?
Oh, Benson, come in.
Well, what on earth is wrong? Why were you screaming?
Oh, Benson, I must have been dreaming. It was horrible.
You're white as a ghost and shaking like a leaf.
Yes, I know. Oh, Mrs. Benson, I can't stand it. It's driving me mad. That makes the 4th or 5th time I've dreamed the same thing, the same in every detail.
I've never heard you scream before.
No. Oh, that's probably because...
What?
Oh, it always comes a little closer to me. Tonight it almost reached me.
It? What do you mean?
I don't know what it is. It's a figure. A human figure, but I can't tell whether it's a man or a woman. It comes through that door and walks slowly across the room with its arms outstretched, reaching for me.
Are you sure you were dreaming?
Now that I think of it, it isn't like a dream, an ordinary dream. Its reality seems to carry over even after I'm awake.
That's what's made you so ill.
This dream, if it is a dream, means something? Is that what you think? It's a premonition?
Perhaps.
What time is it?
9 o'clock.
Where's Gilbert?
Your husband went horseback riding over an hour ago.
Did he go alone?
Your sister went with him.
Beverly? Why didn't he ask me to go?
Well, you've not been yourself lately. Not been feeling well.
Yes, of course.
Well, if you're feeling better, I'll go back to my room.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes, I'll be all right. Thank you, Miss Benson. Good night.
Good night, ma'am.
Beverly. Gilbert.
Lucia lay there for a while, staring wild-eyed at the patch of moonlight on the bedroom door, listening, waiting. Then, as the clock struck 10:30, the door opened, and a figure stepped into the room and moved noiselessly through the moonlight to Lucia's bed. Suddenly, Lucia opened her eyes.
Gilbert, don't!
Lucia, what's wrong with you?
What are you doing in my room?
I just wanted to know how you felt.
How long have you been standing there?
Oh, just a few seconds.
I was dreaming, I guess. When I woke up, you startled me.
Why were you yelling, don't?
I don't know. I haven't the slightest idea.
I talked with Dr. Hendy about you today. I told him how run down you were, and he suggested that I get a tonic for you. I'll drop in at the drugstore on my way home tomorrow evening.
A tonic?
Yes.
Well, what is it?
Oh, I don't remember. Something in strychnine.
Strychnine?
Yes, he said it would give you an appetite.
Where have you been, Gil?
Oh, I've been riding. Nice moonlight night. Very pleasant.
Did Beverly enjoy it?
Yes, she's an excellent rider. I've decided to buy that filly from Thompson. Going over there tomorrow afternoon.
Is Beverly going with you?
Yes. She's a good judge of horseflesh. Why?
Nothing. I just asked.
Well, good night, Lucia. See you at breakfast?
Yes. Good night.
Something and strychnine. Something and strychnine.
Lucia jumps from her bed, rushes down to the library, snaps on the light, and steps to the shelf holding the encyclopedia. She runs her fingers down the long line of books, LMNOPR, and then she stops and stares. The S to T is missing. Then she sees it on the desk, the missing volume. She rushes to the desk and stares down at the open page.
Yes. Yes, that's it. Strychnine.
I'll tell you what, Beverly. I'll leave the deal entirely up to you.
Up to me? Oh, Gil, that's not fair.
Why not?
Well, suppose she turns out to be a lemon.
I don't think she will, because you're going to have the job of training her.
Oh, you certainly flatter me.
Not in the least. Oh. Good morning, Lucia.
I just realized what time it was. You'll be leaving in a few minutes.
Yes, it's 9 this very minute. Got to step on it. More coffee, Beverly?
No, thanks. How do you feel, Lucia?
Better. Much better.
You better eat something.
No, I can't.
At least some coffee.
Yes, I'll have some coffee.
I've got to run. See you later, Lucia.
Yes, Gil.
And I'll see you this afternoon at 2, Beverly.
Yes, I'll meet you in town at 2. Oh, Gil, don't forget Lucia's medicine.
No, I won't. Bye, Lucia.
Are you meeting Gil in town, Beverly?
Yes, he wants me to decide on that filly he's interested in.
Where did you learn so much about horses?
Oh, seems to be natural. Why don't you get interested in horses, Lucia?
Why should I?
What are you interested in?
Well, I am interested in a few things. My husband in particular.
You don't act interested in anything.
Really?
Well, if you'll take my advice, you'll snap out of this coma and get some pep.
Does Gil like women with pep?
No man cares about a woman who sits around and mopes. I think you're a hypochondriac.
Do you?
And you should do something about it.
I intend to. I intend to do something about it.
I'm glad to hear it. Get out and do things. Play games, golf, tennis, swim, and ride. Maybe this medicine will fix you up.
You know all about it, do you? What is it?
Oh, I don't know. It's a tonic, a builder-upper.
I wish I could believe that.
But at least you can try it. Won't hurt you.
No? I wonder. Oh, come in, Dr. Hanby.
Well, Lucia, why did you call me out here? What's wrong?
I just couldn't make it into town.
Oh, it can't be as bad as all that.
Did Gilbert talk to you about me yesterday?
I saw Gil for a few moments at the club during lunch. Said you were run down.
Did you give him a prescription for me?
Oh, never do that until I've examined the patient.
You didn't give him a prescription?
Well, no.
What did you suggest for me?
Oh, I don't know. Mentioned a few tonics he might get for you. Spoke of beef, iron, and wine, and sherry and egg, and... I don't remember what else.
Then you mentioned nothing specifically.
I don't think so.
I see.
Now, what seems to be wrong with you, Lucia?
I don't know exactly, but something has been happening to me that, well, frankly, I'm afraid I'm losing my mind.
We all feel that way at times.
I'm serious. Things happen to me in the night.
What sort of thing?
At first I thought they were just nightmares, but when you have a nightmare, you wake up and the fear is gone. You realize the truth. But this vision that comes to me haunts me through the waking hours as well.
Vision?
Something, I think it's a person, comes through my bedroom door, comes toward my bed with outstretched arms as though it intends to strangle me. Each time it comes a little closer. And my fear is that eventually it will get to me before I wake up.
See. You always dream the same dream?
If it is a dream, yes.
And who is the person?
I don't know.
You don't think it's really a dream?
No. I think it's a premonition.
Have you any basis for such a fear in real life? Is there someone or something that you're afraid of?
Doctor, I'm convinced they're not dreams, that I'm not asleep.
Oh, nonsense.
I'm positive they're not mere dreams.
Well, I think it's all due to your rundown condition. You probably don't sleep as soundly as you should, so you transfer sounds in the night to dreams and nightmares.
That's exactly what I mean. If I'm only half asleep, I may be transferring actual movements and sounds into dreams. In other words, if someone slams a door in the night, I may half hear it and attribute it to a dream.
Yeah. All right.
But then perhaps I'm not dreaming. Don't you see?
I think you'd better come into town and have a thorough physical.
You mean a checkup by a psychiatrist?
Oh, I may have someone help me. It's the usual thing, you know.
Oh, Dr. Henry, I'm so frightened.
Now. Everything's going to be all right.
I'm afraid. Afraid that I'm going to die. That someone is trying to kill me.
Oh, you're not going to die. That's ridiculous.
I'll call you and make an appointment.
That's better. Very well. In the meantime, try not to think about it. Keep your mind on the brighter side.
Yes. I'll try.
All afternoon and on into the evening, that awful gnawing of jealousy and fear occupied every moment. Gil and Beverly. How could they do such a thing? And how far will they go to get you out of the way, Lucia? Will they stop even at murder?
Are you asleep, Lucia?
No, I'm not asleep.
How are you feeling?
I seem to have developed a headache.
Have you eaten anything today?
No, I didn't care for anything.
Well, this will help you. Better take a dose now. I'll measure it for you.
What is it?
Well, it's the tonic.
Did Dr. Hanby prescribe it?
Yes. Yes, he did.
Where's Beverly?
Down in the library.
Did you buy the horse?
Yes, Beverly thought she was a fine animal.
I didn't know Beverly knew so much about horses.
She's a horsewoman after my own heart.
Is she?
Rides like the wind, too.
She had intended to go home tomorrow. Is she staying on?
She's got to. I wouldn't think of her leaving now.
Why not?
Well, for one thing, she's going to train the horse.
And what else?
Why, nothing else. Here, take this. It's a little bitter, but you'll get used to it.
Gil.
Go ahead. It won't hurt you.
I don't want it.
And why not?
It has poison in it.
I suppose it does have a little, yes. But only enough to act as a tonic.
I don't want it. I won't take it.
Are you going to act like a child? Take it and quit arguing.
I won't.
Take it. Swallow it down.
I can't take it.
You're impossible, Lucy.
I'm afraid.
You need this medicine, but you're so confoundedly stubborn you'd rather sit around and mope all day. Very well, there it is. You can take it or not. I'm disgusted trying to help you pull out of this. Good night.
No. Wait, Gil. I'll take it.
I don't care whether you do or not.
There. I've taken it. Terribly bitter.
Well, that's more like it. Now take another dose around 11.
Gil, where's Mrs. Benson?
Why, I told her she could have the night off. Thought she might like to spend the evening in town.
You let her off?
Yes, she's been sticking pretty close lately.
Yes, she has. Good night.
Good night, Lucia.
What's wrong, Gil? You look upset.
I am. Lucia didn't want to take it.
No? Why not?
She's afraid of medicine.
What are you going to do?
She finally took a dose of it. But if I know her, she'll never take another drop.
She's got to take it, Gil. You've got to figure out a way to make her take it.
It can't be disguised. It's too bitter.
Try something else.
I'll try and coax her into it again.
Isn't there something that tastes more pleasant, or something you could put in milk or orange juice?
I don't know. But I'll find something.
Of course you will. You've got to.
She's... Wait a minute. There's someone listening outside the door.
Oh, sir.
Well, Benson, what are you doing standing here in the dark?
Why, I was just going upstairs to see if Mr. Durant wanted anything before I went out.
I see. By the way, I'm staying home for a couple of days, and I thought that since you've been staying so close to the job, you'd welcome a few days' leave.
Leave? Why, yes. But Mrs. Durant may prefer that I stay.
I think you'd better take a little rest yourself. You needn't come back till Friday.
But I don't need a rest.
You come back Friday.
Yes, very well.
But that night, for once, the good Mrs. Benson disobeys orders. A few minutes before 12, she returns to the mansion. No lights are burning. So she makes her way quietly through the back entrance, slips up the stairs, and taps lightly on Lucia's bedroom door.
Mrs. Durant? Mrs. Durant?
Then she turns the knob, opens the door, and snaps on the light.
Mrs. Durant, are you here?
Then Benson steps quickly toward the bed. The bed is empty, but a horrible sight meets her eyes.
Blood. Blood all over the bed. Oh. Get me the police department.
All right, Mrs. Benson. Now, just calm down and tell us what happened this evening.
Well, earlier in the evening, Mr. Durant told me that I could have the night off since I'd been staying close to Mrs. Durant for some time. And then later he said he decided to let me off until Friday. I didn't want to go, but he insisted.
Was there anyone else in the house?
Yes, Mrs. Durant's half-sister, Beverly.
Did you leave the house?
Yes, but I sneaked up the back stairs and told Mrs. Durant I'd be back about midnight.
If you had till Friday, why did you come back at midnight?
Because we were both frightened.
Of what?
Well, Mrs. Durant had been having premonitions that someone was trying to kill her.
Who was trying to kill her?
She didn't know, but she was terribly frightened.
Is that all?
No. Her husband tried to get her to take some medicine he had brought home. She refused, and he got angry.
How do you know he was angry?
I heard him talking about it to Beverly. They were in the library. And he told Beverly that Lucia was stubborn. Beverly said that he'd have to think of some other way.
Did Mrs. Durant suspect her husband and Beverly of trying to do away with her?
Yes. Yes, she did. She was convinced that Mr. Durant and Beverly were in love and wanted her out of the way.
I see. Well, so you came back tonight because you anticipated that something was going to happen.
Yes. House was dark, so I came up the back stairs, knocked on her door. When I got no answer, I came in, turned on the lights, saw she was gone, and then I saw the bed all covered with blood. She wouldn't take the poison, so they did it another way. That's what they planned in the library.
Where are they now? Any idea?
Well, they didn't expect me back tonight, so they're probably gone to dispose of the body, intending to come back here and clean the place up later.
I see. Anybody else know about Mrs. Durant's fears?
Yes, she talked to Dr. Hanby. I called him right after phoning the police and told him about it. He knows.
Dr. Hanby, Captain Blake. What in the world is the meaning of this?
From all indications, Mrs. Durant has been murdered and the body disposed of. Doctor, I understand Mrs. Durant told you that she was afraid that something was going to happen to her, that she was going to die.
Who told you that?
Mrs. Benson here.
I see. Well, she did call me in this morning. She'd been having strange dreams. Premonitions, she called them. I called them hallucinations.
Who do you think it was?
Well, she couldn't tell whether it was a man or a woman, but someone was always approaching her bed with outstretched arms, trying to choke her.
Do you think it was more than a dream?
She was a sort of hypochondriac. I asked her to come into town where I could give her a thorough examination. I didn't take her story too seriously, but this certainly puts a different slant on the entire picture.
Yes. We haven't found the body, but I have men out looking now. We'll find it.
Here's Mr. Durant and his sister-in-law. They found them about half-mile down the beach.
Oh, how are you, Durant?
What in the world goes on here? What's wrong, Doctor?
Take a look at that bed.
Good Lord. What happened? Lucia. Where is she?
We thought you might enlighten us on that point.
What do you mean? Where is she? Is Lucia dead?
Oh, Gil, what?
What happened?
We think your wife has been murdered.
Murdered? But what are you doing here, Mrs. Benson? I thought you were gone till Friday.
Why did you tell her to go until Friday?
Why, I thought she needed a rest. She'd been having long hours. Where is Lucia?
Where have you and your sister-in-law been?
Why, I slipped upstairs and saw Lucia was asleep, so we decided to take a little ride down the beach. It was still early.
Mm-hmm. Didn't take anything with you?
Certainly not.
What do you mean by that? What would we take?
I don't know. I just asked. Did you two try to get Lucia to take some medicine?
No.
Wait a minute, Beverly. That won't do any good. Yes, we did. Lucia was run down and needed a tonic. But she refused to take medicine.
Why did she refuse?
I don't know.
Maybe she was afraid of being poisoned.
Poisoned? Why should I want to poison her? Lucia was my wife.
How long has your sister-in-law Beverly been here with you?
Well, I don't know. Quite some time.
Just a minute. Are you inferring that Gil and I...
I'm not inferring anything. I merely asked you a question.
Oh, Gil, tell him that...
Just a moment, Beverly. Mrs. Benson, what have you been saying? What did you tell them?
I told them the truth.
You think I planned to kill Lucia? Is that it?
Yes, you and this woman.
You're out of your mind.
You tried to get her to take some medicine. She knew you were in love with her sister and that you were trying to poison her.
And how did she come to that conclusion?
She had premonition.
That means nothing.
And besides, I heard you talking, you and Beverly, planning the whole thing.
What?
She's lying.
I heard you. When you realized Lucia wouldn't take the medicine, Beverly said you'd have to think of some other way.
Some other way to what?
To get rid of her. To kill her.
There must be some... Dr. Hanby, you know better than this. Do you think I had a reason back of wanting to know about various medicines?
Well, no, I didn't. Not at the time, but now...
Now what?
Well, I'm sorry to say it all adds up to something suspicious. Seems more than just coincidental.
Do you think I killed Lucia?
Look about you. Look at the room. What else am I to think?
What was the tonic you tried to give your wife?
It had strychnine in it.
That right, Durant?
Oh, yes. It was one of the things Dr. Hanby mentioned. It was iron, quinine, and strychnine.
Did you mention that, Doctor?
Well, suppose I did. It's a commonly known tonic.
Did you add anything else to it, Durant?
Certainly not.
How about it, Sergeant? What's the report?
The bottle contained iron, quinine, and strychnine, and a heavy content of arsenic.
Arsenic? But that isn't possible. I put nothing in it. Where would I get arsenic?
It was in there just the same.
Doctor, this isn't true. You know it isn't.
I hate to say it, Gil, but the evidence looks bad for you.
Benson knows what this is all about. She's lying. She knows Gil wouldn't do such a thing. She's back of it all.
Why?
I don't know. But believe me, I'll find out if I have...
That'll do. Under the circumstances, I think you'd all better come down to headquarters so we can keep you separated. Come on. And no more talking.
After 48 hours of relentless grilling, endless questioning, Gil and Beverly are released on a writ of habeas corpus. Weeks go by, and Lucia's body has not been discovered, so the district attorney makes a public announcement that no murder charges can be preferred against them due to lack of corpus delicti, the failure to produce the body, Lucia's body. Then one evening, Beverly and Gil talked in the library.
Beverly, I want you to know how wonderful I think you've been. You stuck right beside me, never lost your nerve, and... Well, you're one girl in a million.
Oh, thanks, Gil, but it isn't over yet. They won't stop their search for Lucia's body, and if they find it, we haven't a chance.
I know, but what can we do about it?
Well, why couldn't we leave the country?
Together?
Not necessarily. They'd be sure to follow us. But we could go separately in different ways, and...
And meet someplace later on? Is that what you mean?
Yes, that's what I mean.
It seems a bit mad. It would be equal to an out-and-out confession.
Oh, but Gil, if they find Lucia's body, we haven't a chance. It's too strong against us.
We could never come back, Beverly.
What of it? I don't want to die, Gil. And I don't want anything to happen to you.
Beverly, I don't know what to say.
I'm frightened, Gil. I can't stay here with such horrible fear hanging over me. I'll go mad. If you don't go, then I will. I'll leave tonight.
Please, Beverly, I need you more than ever now. Please don't go.
Don't worry, Gilbert. She won't leave you.
Lucia.
Good heavens, Lucia.
I won't let her leave you. I'll see that you both go together and stay together for a long, long time.
Lucia, what?
Lucia.
We thought you were dead.
Disappointed, aren't you?
Where have you been?
What are you going to do with that gun?
You thought I was dead. Well, I'm not. I'm live enough to pull this trigger. I've been hiding for weeks, and I've been behind those curtains for the last 20 minutes. I heard every word. Now I know you're in love with each other. Now I know you wanted to do away with me.
In love? Beverly and I?
From the day she came here. She took you away from me.
I did not.
We never thought of such a thing. Never.
Never entered our mind.
Why lie about it?
You've let your imagination run away with you, Lucia. You're insane.
You think so? Well, if I am, it's your fault. Yours and Beverly's. You've driven me insane, both of you. I had a plan to get even with you, to make you pay for what you've done, but it failed.
What plan?
You see, I didn't know about the law of corpus delicti, but I do now. And this time there will be a body. 2 bodies. Yours and Beverly's.
You're a suspicious-minded devil, Lucia.
I planned to trap you on a murder charge. My murder. But it's going to be your murder now.
You were convinced that Beverly and I were in love?
Of course. I never needed a dream nor a premonition. I cut myself and smeared blood on the bed and disappeared. When I found they couldn't touch you without the corpus delicti, I came back to kill you.
Lucia, you fool, you vicious-minded fool. I'm going to tell you something. And go ahead and shoot me if you will. Lucia, not until now, this very moment, has the thought of loving Beverly ever occurred to me.
You never loved Beverly?
No. But I can tell you this, Lucia. Now that I've seen you as you really are, I could never love you again, never.
Gil!
Wait, Beverly.
But I was sure. I was convinced that you were Beverly.
You were sure only because your warped, jealous mind convinced you that there was something between us.
You mean
You certainly made a sorry mess of your life, Lucia.
Then all I've done is killed your love. Oh, Gil.
Yes, Lucia. And you've no one to blame. No one but your own miserable self.
Gil!
Lucia, don't, Lucia!
Oh, Gil. Gil!
Yes, Beverly. But it's probably the best thing for her and for us.
And so closes In Fear and Trembling, starring Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer's Mary Astor, tonight's tale of Suspense. The broadcast originated in Columbia Square in Hollywood. This is your narrator, the Man in Black, who conveys to you Columbia's invitation to spend this half hour in suspense with us again next Tuesday, when another of the screen's lovelier leading ladies, Geraldine Fitzgerald, will star in the uneasy drama called Will You Walk Into My Parlor? William Spear, the producer, Ted Bliss, the director, Bud Gluskin, the musical director, Lucian Morowick, the composer, and J. Donald Wilson, the author, collaborated on tonight's Suspense.
This is the Columbia Broadcasting System.
This is the Man in Black, here again to introduce Columbia's program, Suspense. Our distinguished star this evening is that delightful gentleman, Mr. Roland Young, playing as author of detective novels, who invented his best plot when his life was at stake. With Mr. Young to play his long-suffering secretary is Miss Peggy Conklin. A story by John Dickson Carr, in a somewhat lighter mood than is our habit, and called The Customers Like Murder, is tonight's tale of suspense. If you've been with us on these Tuesday nights, you will know that suspense is compounded of mystery and suspicion and dangerous adventure. In this series are tales calculated to intrigue you, to stir your nerves, to offer you a precarious situation, and then withhold the solution until the last possible moment. And so with The Customers Like Murder and the performance of Roland Young, we again hope to keep you in suspense. On a hot summer night,
in a village on the east coast of England. A famous writer of detective stories is dictating to his secretary. You have all heard of Mr. Gerald Hawkstone, celebrated author of Murder on the Woolsack, Aconite at the Admiralty, Who Shot the Prime Minister, and other thrillers which have held us past the midnight hour. You have followed the exploits of Pendleton King, diplomat detective. Gerald Hawkstone lived quietly at Deal with his friend Dr. Roberts nearby in case he should need medical knowledge. And his pretty, if somewhat pert Canadian secretary, Miss Patricia Phillips. Gerald Hawkstone would be a happy man, even in wartime, if it were not for...
You got all that, Miss Phillips?
Yes, Mr. Hawkstone.
Good. New paragraph.
Yes, Mr. Hawkstone.
At the head of the great banqueting table, comma, the Lord Chief Justice staggered to his feet, full stop. His face was a ghastly whitish color, and his eyes had become glassy.
Is he drunk, Mr. Hawkstone?
No, Miss Phillips, the Lord Chief Justice is not drunk.
Sounds pretty cockeyed to me.
For your information, Miss Phillips, the Lord Chief Justice has just been poisoned with curare because he discovered the identity of the master criminal. Is that clear?
Yes, Mr. Hawkstone. But I wish you wouldn't do it.
Do what?
Well, in the last 4 books, Mr. Hawkstone, you have shot the Prime Minister, killed the Lord Chancellor with an axe, poisoned the Home Secretary, and blown up the First Lord of the Admiralty. Why don't you stop picking on the poor government and murder somebody else for a change?
The Lord Chancellor, Miss Phillips, was not murdered with an axe.
No, Mr. Hawkstone?
Definitely no. He was beamed with the Great Seal and found dead on the woolsack. And there's another thing, Miss Phillips. Whether you talk like this because of a dense vacuum in what we will charitably call your mind...
Really, Mr. Hawkstone?
Or whether you are really making out what you might define as hot cracks, I don't know. But I don't want any more of it, do you hear?
Just as you please, Mr. Hawkstone.
Oh, Lord, where was I?
His face was a ghastly whitish color, and his eyes had become glassy.
Sounds like me. All right. A single choking cry escaped his lips, comma, and his body crumpled to the floor. Full stop. New paragraph. With one swift stride, Pendleton King had reached the fallen man.
He can't have done that, Mr. Hawkstone.
Who can't have done what?
Pendleton King.
What about him?
Well, on the last page, you had him sitting at the foot of the table. So he can't get there in one stride. Unless you want him to sail across the room like a kangaroo.
There are times, Miss Phillips, when I should like to poison you with curare and dance on your grave.
I was only trying to help.
All right, change it. Strike it out. With hardly a second's delay, how's that? Comma. Pendleton King had reached the fallen man. Full stop. New paragraph. Quote. I feared it, comma. Close quote. He muttered. Full stop. Quote. Note the rigidity of the muscles. Exclamation point. Note the characteristic odor of curare, which...
That won't do, Mr. Hawkstone.
Why not?
Curare hasn't got any odor.
Now there, Miss Phillips, you've really gone too far.
But I can't help that. It's true.
If you will permit the small vanity, I am noted for the correctness of my medical knowledge. Who is murdering the Lord Chief Justice, you or I?
You are. But you might murder him properly. Curare hasn't got any odor.
I say it has.
And I say it hasn't.
Listen, Miss Phillips. I propose to settle this rather childish dispute by going next door and asking Dr. Roberts. Will that convince you?
Curare hasn't got any odor. And anyway, the Lord Chief Justice wouldn't be mixed up in any such silliness as this.
Silliness, eh?
Yes, I said silliness. Read your evening paper. The Lord Chief Justice is sentencing some American gangster who got involved in a robbery over here. That's the sort of thing he really does.
You're very fond of these gangster reports, aren't you?
Yes, I am, because they're real.
Real? Ha!
Don't you say fa to me.
Merely remarking, Miss Phillips, that with your usual ingenuity, you sidetracked the argument. I am going to see Dr. Roberts. That's not necessary, of course. My own knowledge of poisons is as great as that of any doctor.
Dr. Fa.
And finally, kindly don't say fa to me, either. When I return, Miss Phillips, I hope to find you in a better frame of mind. Please observe that I, at least, have been able to keep my temper. Excuse me.
All right. Go on. See if I care.
excuse me, but...
Good evening, Mr. Hawkstone.
Good evening, Mrs. Roberts. May I come in?
Of course. Mind the blackout curtain. My, isn't it hot and stuffy tonight?
Rather close, yes. Is the doctor in?
I'm afraid he isn't, Mr. Hawkstone, but I expect him back any minute.
Oh, out on a call?
No, I'm almost certain he isn't, because that's his medicine case and stethoscope there on the table. I think he's just gone up the road to get some tobacco.
Do you mind if I wait?
Not at all. But you will excuse me if I run along. I promised Mrs. Anderson I'd drop in there. It's her neuralgia again, and I'm terribly late already.
Don't let me detain you, Mrs. Roberts. Go right ahead.
I'm afraid you'll have to wait in George's consulting room. I've got most of the house dark, so I could keep the windows open. You know which room it is?
Yes, I could find it blindfolded.
Oh, and I wonder if you take the medicine case and stethoscope and drop them in the consulting room. George is so careless, he lets them lie about anywhere.
Medicine case? Stethoscope, yes. As a matter of fact, I've always wanted to hang one of these things around my neck like this. Look almost like a doctor, don't I? Good night, Mrs. Roberts.
Good night, Mr. Hawkstone. See you later.
Oh, so what I write is silliness, eh? And I don't know anything about poisons. And I call her Miss Phillips instead of Patricia. Ah, here we are. Now, where's that light switch? Good Lord.
Come on in, Doc. Close the door.
Who the deuce are you?
You want to keep healthy, Doc? Just do what you're told. Come in and close the door.
Is that by any chance a revolver you're pointing at me?
Ain't no cigarette case. I'm warning you.
Well, I'm hanged. I've done it 1,000 times in stories, but I never thought...
Don't drop that junk you're carrying either. You're going to need it, Doc, when you come along with me.
Come along with you? Where?
Just to see a guy, that's all.
To see a... Oh, wait a minute. You don't think I'm the doctor?
Now, look, Doc. I ain't got any time for gags, see? The boss says to bring you, so I bring you. There'll be a very sick man out there if you don't go.
Yes, there'll be a very dead man out there if I do go. I tell you, old man, you're making a terrible mistake.
Now, look, Doc.
My name is Hawkstone. I live next door. I'm not a medical man, and
Wait a
I
minute.
never...
Somebody's coming.
Miss Phillips.
Now then, Dr. Hawkstone, just look here in the encyclopedia.
So you ain't the doctor, huh?
That's done it.
Just a real old-fashioned kidder, ain't you? Now, you keep quiet, lady. You know it's good for you.
I know you. I've seen your picture. You're Big Louie Miller.
Pretty smart dame
I'm
you
sure
got
that's
here,
him.
Doc.
Listen, Mr.
Just take
Hawkstone.
it easy, Miss Phillips.
Big Louie Miller and Slats Kelly. Slats Kelly is the gang leader. Well, we're supposed to be friends of this gangster who's on trial in London now. But I hadn't heard they were in England.
No, lady. Neither is anybody else.
Now we're for it.
Who is this dame, Doc? Your niece?
No, she's my secretary. She doesn't know anything about this.
She seems to know too much about it, if you ask me. Come on, lady. You're going with it.
Going? Where?
Just for a little ride, lady. Just for a little ride.
Far out from the village, in flat and miry swampland where pools of stagnant water gleam under the moon, stands the old Rutherford house. It is a desolate place, on the track of Field Marshal Goering's bombers when they cross the coastline. But there are no searchlights here, and no guns. Only the heat on the glimmering marshes and the decaying, weather-boarded house as a motor car approaches.
Drive straight ahead, Doc. Right around to the back of the house. Remember, I still got this rod against the back of your neck.
As a matter of fact, Louis, I'm rather enjoying this. All except the murder.
What murder? We ain't gonna bump anybody off.
Maybe not you, old boy, but I am. Just wait till I get at your patient.
I don't see how you can joke about this.
I'm not joking, Miss Phillips. If Louis won't tell us what's wrong with the patient...
Never you mind the patient, Doc. You just drive around here. Here, whoa.
So...
Right here.
Oh. So this is the enchanted castle, eh?
Climb out of here. Walk ahead of me over to that house.
Come on, Miss Phillips.
That's right, lady. You too. Come on. Hey, hold on, Doc. Grab a can of this cleaning fluid here. You can help me carry it in.
Cleaning fluid?
Yeah, there's 2 cans of it. If I can carry one, then I need my other hand for this rod. Come on. We ain't got all night. Get it out of the back seat.
Professionally, this is a little out of my line of duty. What do you want with the cleaning fluid?
The boss's suits get all messed up, so I clean them for him. I play nursemaid and everything around here. Come on now. Straight ahead. Stop asking questions.
You got this place blacked out, Louis. If the police don't get you, the air raid warden will.
Forget it, Doc. We got this place so sealed up, you can hardly breathe inside.
In here?
That's right, lady. Go ahead. I'll close the door.
I can't see, old boy. Which way?
Here. Set that can down and follow me. You too, lady. Right here, with the curtains hanging over the door. Now, I want you to meet the boss. So I open the curtain like this.
Howdy, Doc. Come right in. Glad to see you. I've been expecting you.
Glad to see you, old man. I imagine you're the celebrated Mr. Kelly.
That's me, Doc. Flats Kelly to you. Glad to see you taking this nice and friendly. Louis, what's the idea of bringing in the dame?
I couldn't help it, boy.
How?
She says nice, see? She was with him, and she knew who I was.
She did, eh?
I don't know anything. All I want to do is to go home.
That's all right, sister. You'll go home all nice and friendly. As soon as I've had a little talk with the doctor.
A talk about what?
Well, we're not what you might call comfortable here, Doc. Well, we've got flashlights, canned food, plenty of liquor, portable radio that works on a battery. So we managed to get along. You know what I mean?
I said a talk about what?
Well, that's it. That's what I'm going to tell you. We pulled a snatch, see?
You pulled a snatch?
You mean he means they kidnapped somebody?
That's right, sister. You speak English.
May I ask who was snatched?
Well, I'll tell you, Doc, because it'll have you a big laugh. The guy we snatched was the big shot you call the Lord Chief Justice.
You snatched the Lord Chief Justice?
We sure did, Doc, and his clerk, too. They're in the room right over there.
Shut your trap, Louis.
I didn't mean nothing, boss. I was only trying
Did you hear me say shut your trap?
Okay.
But, look here, what was the idea behind this snatch?
Well, I'll tell you, Doc. We got a pal, see?
Well?
Dominic Forelli, his name is. He's up on a grand larceny rap, and Forelli don't like Blimey jail. He don't like him at all. Besides, the dirty little rat owes me 14 G's. So what do?
Snatch the Lord Chief Justice, apparently, but why?
Because the mouthpiece back home tells me long ago that a man can't be sentenced except for the judge that tried him.
And the Lord Chief Justice is the judge who tried Dominic Forelli, is that it?
That's right, Doc. But it ain't the main thing. This Chief Justice is a pretty important guy, see? So, what do? We write to the cops and say, now look, we got the old bird in a place where you'll never find him, and if you want to keep things nice and friendly, just spring Dominic Forelli.
Spring him?
Turn him loose.
Sure. Spring Forelli, and you'll get the old judge back in one piece. If you don't do it, you'll get him back with his head as full of holes as a Swiss cheese. And we're not kidding.
This is horrible. I can't stand it.
Take it easy, sister. Take it easy.
You know, Slats, I admire you tremendously.
You do, Doc. Why?
Because you've invented a crazier idea than I ever did.
Just what do you mean by that crack, Doc?
You don't honestly think the government will make a bargain with you.
I sort of think they will, Doc. I sort of think they will.
But what if they don't?
It'll be just too bad for a lot of people. You know what I mean?
Why wouldn't I like to give that judge a going over?
Louis got a sort of a grudge against the old guy, Doc.
Well, wouldn't you have?
Louis' temperamental, see? He gets bored easy. So he says to the old guy and his clerk, he says, can you play poker? Judge says, sure. So they play poker from 6 in the evening to 5 in the morning. And what do you know? If the old judge don't win all Louis' dough.
They rung in a cold deck on me. That's how they done it. They're a couple of crooks.
Are you accusing the Lord Chief Justice of playing poker with marked cards?
He won my dough, didn't he?
Shut up, Louis.
Okay, boy.
Not that I blame Louis much. The things I've had to take from that judge. Well, that's where you come in, Doc.
I was just wondering about that. Which of one of them is...
Hurt? Nobody hurt. Not yet.
Then what the devil do you want with me?
I want them kept quiet so they don't keep trying to escape. We can't get tough with them, not until I get Forelli and my 14 G's. And I want you to give them a hypodermic or something that'll keep them out cold for 2 days. Can you do that?
Why, yes, I don't know. I suppose I could.
Hoxton, for heaven's sake, be careful.
Now, what do you use to dope them?
Well, under the circumstances and considering all the factors involved, I think I should use morphine.
Have you got any morphine in that black satchel?
Oh, yes. Plenty of morphine. I always go about equipped for these little emergencies.
Well, then open the satchel. Come on, open it.
Well, there you are.
Dozens of little bottles, anyway. Now then, Doc, which one of them bottles is the one that has the morphine in it?
The fact is, Slats...
Come on. Which one is it?
Listen, boss. Louis, how many times do I have to tell you to shut up?
Yeah, but it's the midnight news. The news on the radio. You said you wanted to hear it. It's after midnight now.
Why didn't you tell me?
It's all right, boss. I switched the radio on.
Well, then keep quiet, all of you. A couple of seconds now, you're going to hear some mighty sweet news.
I wonder.
So do I.
Quiet.
Hey, that's us, ain't it?
The kidnappers, stated Superintendent Hadley of the CID, seem to entertain a belief that no sentence can be passed on a criminal except by the judge who tried him. Whatever may be the law in certain American states, this is not the case here. Dominic Forelli, alias Dominic Stevens, was today sentenced by Mr. Justice Stoneman to 14 years hard labor and this evening entered Dartmoor Prison.
Why, that
One moment, please.
double-crossing lawyer told me...
Take it easy, boys. Take it easy.
Kelly, he's as white as a ghost, and his mouth is twisting back as though...
Here is a bulletin just received. Scotland Yard flying squad cars, assisted by the constabulary of a county which for obvious reasons cannot be named, are closing in on the two kidnappers believed to be men already wanted in the United States for murder.
That's us.
Will anyone who has any further information about these men, whose descriptions follow, communicate with New Scotland Yard, telephone number Whitehall 1212...
Wait till I get my hands on it.
That's all right, boss. Everything's all right now. I turned it off.
Can't do more than turn it off, Louis. I'll fix that thing.
Hey, what are you going to do, boss? Hey, don't bust the radio. Hey. Oh, you hadn't ought to bust the radio, boss. Now we can't get any news.
We've had our news lately. Come on, put that light out. I want to look out the window. Oh, they're closing in.
Tricia, you see, I can call you that.
Why couldn't you have called me that weeks ago?
Oh, well, putting that aside, I thought it as half a joke. But I'm not joking now. I intend to get that rat-faced slats if it's the last thing I ever do.
It probably will be. But how are you going to?
First, Pendleton King, my dear. He's got out of worse scrapes than this.
14,000 bucks gone. And the cops on our tail while we stand here yapping. You heard what that radio said, Louis.
Yeah, I heard it all right. Look, boss, we better lamb out of here while
Sure
it's
we
time.
will, Louis. Before we go, we settle things with the old guy in the other room.
You can't get away with it, Louis. This is England. They'll hang you.
So what? We got a murder rap for facing the States, ain't we? And I just as soon hang as fry. What about you, Louis?
You said it, boss. Let me take this rod of mine, stick it against the back of the old guy's neck, and...
No rod. That's too easy. Easy? Sure. One slug and it's all over. This guy rates special treatment. And that's where the doctor comes in. You know anything about poisons, Doc?
I know a good deal about poisons. The customers like murder.
What's that?
Oh, nothing. Just a slogan in my profession.
Look, Louis, do you remember the time Johnny Presco was running the old 3rd Avenue Social Club?
Yeah.
And Mike Delaney talks out of turn? And they feed him some white stuff called strychnine?
Oh, yeah.
And sit around and light cigarettes and watch him die. It took 4 hours, Doc, and you could hear the rats screaming as far as 81st Street.
Now, wait a minute, Slats. You can't...
I can't, We'll see. You got any of that white stuff, Doc?
Well,
Come on,
I
you've
might.
got
I
something
don't know.
in that bag that'll make the old guy squeal now, haven't you?
Why, yes, I suppose I have, but...
Listen, get this sure. You can do it the hard way, Doc, or you can do it the easy way. Louis gets to work on you. Maybe you'd be smarter to hand the stuff over right now. What do you say?
Listen, boy. Listen.
What's the matter, Slats? Troubled by the heat? It is hot in here with all the windows sealed up.
That sounds like planes.
It is planes.
British planes going over to put the heat on Germany?
No such luck, old boy. German planes coming to bomb us. About
a dozen Heinkels, flying 20,000 feet up.
Mm-hmm. Very keen ear, Miss Phillips. Say, I'd say not over 15. That's the first wave, Slats. There'll be another wave in a minute or two. But you needn't be alarmed. They're going somewhere else. They only...
Duck, Louis, duck!
The way I heard you, boss, I'm under the table already.
Only a little visiting card, Slats, and fully a quarter of a mile away.
Put out that light,
Why
Louis, and
bother?
pull that curtain back off the window.
Yeah, but what's it?
See what you can see.
Okay.
Do as I tell you,
all right.
big luck.
All right. Hey, can't see a thing. The sky's as black as pitch. Oh, look over there.
Well, what is it?
It's a light, boy. Funny kind of a white light. Up there over the trees. It's not very steady. It starts and then dims, and then it starts and dims.
Only a basket of incendiary bombs, Louis.
Incendiaries, eh?
What is it, Jerry? You got an idea?
Louis, this is just what we've been waiting for. Those Scotland Yard cars are going to get held up until we can settle things with those guys in the other room. Come along with me.
Why don't you two lugs get smart?
Jerry.
What's that?
You don't want to have your neck cracked on a rope, do you? Or burn in the electric chair back home?
What are you getting at?
Why not take advice from somebody who's been killing people in a professional way for 15 years?
I'm not in the mood for gags, Doc, but keep on talking.
This Lord Chief Justice and his clerk, what do they look like?
Well, the judge is a little guy with a bald head like me.
And the other one is a big guy with a punch-drunk pan, like Louis. Why?
I thought so. I've seen their photographs. When the next wave of planes comes over, and it will, why shouldn't an incendiary bomb hit this house?
You mean you think it ain't too safe here?
Be quiet, Louis. Go ahead, Doc.
In other words, you leave the Lord Chief Justice and his clerk tied up in the other room. Then all you have to do is to set fire to the place. Justice cheated, Medlington gangsters die and blaze.
Jerry Hawkstone, have you gone crazy?
They may catch you eventually, yes. But it'll give you a few days' start.
Hey, maybe you got something there, Doc.
And it's got to look good. This house must go up like a piece of paper in a furnace, past any possibility of being put out.
Yeah, and that's the catch.
Why so?
This house is in the middle of a swamp, see? It's as damp as your own climate. You couldn't make it burn with a blowtorch.
Oh, yes, you could. Aren't you forgetting the cleaning fluid?
Cleaning fluid?
In that other room, you've got 2 gallons of cleaning fluid. That's benzene, a derivative of petrol. Soak every inch of the floor of that room with it, every inch of it, mind, and the place will go up like tinder.
Well, it's worth a try, Louis. Turn on your flashlight.
Okay, boss.
And, what about you two, Doc? Afterwards?
We're accessories, aren't we? Are we likely to talk?
Better put a couple of slugs in them, boss, and drop them on the road. What's 1 or 2 more bumps in a spot like this?
Maybe you're right at that. Well, anyway, Doc, thanks for a swell idea. You heard what the doc said, Louis. Get going with that cleaning stuff.
Both of you had better do it. I'm warning you.
Oh, why?
Hear that? Because there isn't much time. Here they come. You can't have a fire start after the last wave of planes has gone over.
Well, maybe you got something there, too. But I'll just take a little precaution first.
What are you going to do?
These are handcuffs, sister. 2 of the neatest pair of cuffs we ever swiped off a dumb cop. Oh, well, just lock your arms around the back of the chair, like this. And the doc's arms around the back of his chair, like this. And we'll get going. Come on, Louis, through the curtain.
Okay, I'm coming, boss. Bye-bye, Mr. Hawkstone, and your lady friend. Be seeing you in the funny papers. Or in the morgue.
It won't be long now. They must have everything in there soaked with that benzene by now. Jerry, I know you can't be completely crazy.
Many thanks, my dear, for the qualification. You're right. They have soaked the place with benzene. And if they strike a match before...
I know you've got some kind of a scheme, but do you think it'll work?
I don't know, my dear. I thought of it once for a story.
Oh, you and your story.
Me and my stories, as Louis will put it, may save our hides yet.
But suppose it doesn't work.
Then we're done for.
What are you trying to do?
There's a place to miss, boss. Here, I got
Listen, Fisher. It's not working. But it's got to work.
What's got to work?
4, no, 5 minutes. Must be at least that. They've been pouring out that benzene an inch at a time all over the...
What's that? What's the matter?
Listen.
What's that? What's the matter, you big lad? Getting fed up? Nothing got me, boss.
It's working, Patricia. I think our friends are licked.
No, they're not. Slats is coming back.
What dirty trick are you trying to pull, Doc? What's the matter with Louis? What's the matter with me?
You've lost the game, Slats. You're finished.
Oh, I'm finished, am I?
It's the benzene fumes, old man. To pour out a lot of cleaning fluid in an airtight room like that one is practically certain death. You know, Slats, you ought to learn more about crime. No, you won't, Slats. You can't reach your gun. The fumes have got you. You can't move your arms or legs. Your eyesight's going. In 1 second more, you'll be... Got him. Dead to the world.
You mean...
It works, Patricia. It's practical. It works.
Are you trying to tell me that you killed those 2 men?
Not necessarily. Listen.
That sounds like cars.
Probably police cars. We're just about to be sensationally rescued, just like fiction.
Jerry.
Come on out of there.
Come on in and get us, you lug.
Oh, don't talk like Louis or we'll get a bullet through the head yet.
Yes, that is a thought.
Well, we're prisoners. We're victims. This way, please. Mr. Sergeant, and I was never so glad to see a uniform in my life.
Here now. What's going on in this place? Louis Miller knocked out in that room? And blimey, if it's not Slats Kelly knocked out in this room.
Just a couple of mugs I polished off, Sergeant, all in the day's work.
You mean they're dead?
They'll be all right if you drag them out in the open air.
Oh, I recognize you. You're the rider who was kidnapped tonight.
Yes, and you will find the other snatches in that room.
But first of all, have you got a key that'll unlock regulation police handcuffs?
I certainly have, sir, and I'll get you loose in a jiffy.
Never mind me, Sergeant. Never mind my handcuffs. Get this lady free. She's the one I'm concerned about.
You know, that's awfully kind of you. It's something practically chivalrous.
Chivalry, my eye.
There you are, young lady.
Have you got your notebook and pencil in that handbag?
You don't want me to take dictation now?
A true artist, madam, takes no account of time or place. Are you ready?
Yes, Mr. Hawkstone.
Well, you admit now that my plot is practical.
Yes, Mr. Hawkstone.
Now then, The Income Tax Murder by Gerald Hawkstone, Chapter 1.
But, Mr. Hawkstone...
Just as Big Ben was striking midnight, a hooded face looked into the window of the luxurious study occupied by the Chancellor of the Exchequer. Full stop. The hooded figure chuckled as it softly lowered inside the window a large tin of cleaning fluid. New paragraph. The Chancellor himself was hard at work devising a new scale of income tax.
But, Mr. Hawkstone, that's a completely different story. I thought you were going to murder the Lord Chief Justice.
Haven't you any professional taste? How can I murder the Lord Chief Justice? I just saved his life.
And so ends The Customers Like Murder, starring Roland Young with Peggy Conklin. Tonight's tale of suspense. This is your narrator, the man in black, who conveys to you Columbia's invitation to spend this half hour in suspense with us again next Tuesday, same time, when our story will be The Dead Sleep Lightly. William Spear, the producer, John Dietz, the director, Bernard Herrmann, the composer-conductor, and John Dixon Carr, the author, collaborated on tonight's Suspense. Suspense. This is the Man in Black, here again to introduce Columbia's program, Suspense. Our stars this evening are three. In the order of their appearance, they are Walter Hampton, one of the theater's proudest names for 2 generations, and Susan Hayward and Lee Bowman, 2 of Hollywood's brightest younger stars. The story called The Dead Sleep Lightly by John Dixon Carr is tonight's tale of suspense. If you've been with us on these Tuesday nights, you will know that suspense is compounded of mystery and suspicion and dangerous adventure. In this series are tales calculated to intrigue you, to stir your nerves, to offer you a precarious situation, and then withhold the solution until the last possible moment. And so, with The Dead Sleep Lightly, and with the performances of Walter Hampton, Susan Hayward, and Lee Bowman, we again hope to keep you in suspense.
Ashes to ashes and dust to dust.
Meadowvale Cemetery, not far from New York. Meadowvale Cemetery, on a dim gray morning in early April, when rain forms a mist across leafless trees and white gravestones. You see, over there, the group of silk-hatted gentlemen, each with his protecting umbrella, gathered around an open grave. You see the clay soil freshly dug. You can hear perhaps the creaking of support as the coffin is lowered into its everlasting house, and the droning voice of the clergyman.
I am the resurrection and the life, saith the Lord. He that believeth on me, though he were dead, yet shall he live. Live?
Quiet, Mr. Templeton, please.
What's wrong with old Templeton?
Please, sir, remember where you are.
She's not alive, I tell you. She's not alive.
It might seem a long distance, that, from the Cosmopolites Club in Gramercy Park on the following evening, when that same well-fed man, as hard and unemotional as the diamond pin in his tie, hurries up the steps into the club and...
Porter. Yes, Mr. Templeton. Tell me, Mr. Wilmot in the club, do you know? Yes, sir. Don't you see him? See him? Where? In the lounge over there, sir. Sitting by the fire. Yes, of course. I'm a little upset. You're a good fellow, Henry. I won't forget you. Thank you, sir. Excuse me, sir, but aren't you going to take off your hat and overcoat? Never mind my hat and coat. Just tell me one other thing. When I came into the club, was there anybody following me? Following you, Mr. Templeton? Yes, a woman. A woman with a long skirt and a heavy black veil. There aren't many women who wear that kind of dress nowadays, sir. Look out into the street. Do you see anybody? No, sir. There's just, What's that? Oh, that's only the old street musician, sir. He doesn't mean any harm. I won't have that tune played, you hear? I'm used to getting my orders obeyed, and I'm going to have this one obeyed. Here's some money. Go out and tell him to go away. Yes, sir, if you insist, but, Do as you're told and don't ask questions. If anybody wants me, I shall be with Mr. Wilmot. Very good, sir. Good evening, Wilmot. Mind if I sit down for a minute? Oh, not at all. Pull up a chair. Have some coffee? No, thanks. I'll get down to brass tacks right away. Yes, you always do. I've noticed that. Well, I'm a pretty self-sufficient kind of a fellow, Wilmot. I made a name for myself, even if I do say it myself. But, well, the fact is, I need advice. A successful publisher asking advice from one of his own authors. That's something new, isn't it? Now, look here, Wilmot, I'm serious. All right, I take it back. What's on your mind? Well, you've studied what we'll call the supernatural, haven't you? I've lectured and written books about it, yes. And did you ever meet a ghost? No, I can't say I ever did. Have you? It might only be my own imagination. Yes, that's what scares me. You get on in years, and your arteries harden, and you don't take enough exercise, and you think something ought to be done about your waistline, but you never bother. You see, Wilmot, I went to a funeral yesterday. You did? Whose funeral was it? The person who died has nothing to do with this. It was old Simpson of Harley and Sons. We thought it was only decent to make up a party and go to the funeral. And I took my secretary along, a girl named Molly Carroll. I'm leaving for Washington tomorrow. Besides, I'm moving house. So there was a lot of work to do. What I couldn't stand was that infernal cemetery in the rain. We must have gone in by the wrong gate, because we were in a neglected, desolate part of the cemetery where the rank grass grew over the graves. You'll oblige me, Miss Carroll, if you first find out the proper directions of our places. We've come in the wrong gate to the cemetery.
Well, I'm sorry, Mr. Templeton. I thought
What you thought doesn't matter now. This is the wrong part of the cemetery. My shoes are absolutely ruined with wet clay.
Well, it isn't doing my own shoes and stockings any good either, Mr. Templeton.
If there's been any damage to them, Miss Carroll, I'll replace them. You never found me ungenerous, now have you?
Well, not exactly ungenerous, no.
I'll pay you the compliment, Miss Carroll, saying that you're the best secretary I ever had.
Thank you.
Yet you want to leave me.
Yes, I want to get married.
That's what Mr. Barnes is telling me. And who is this paragon of yours? What does he do? Does he make any money?
Well, Frank's a radio technician. He's not very wealthy, I'll admit.
Wealthy? A radio technician? I'll bet he doesn't make as much as I pay you. Yet you want to get married.
Well, is there anything very strange about that?
Yes, if it interferes with your career, if it... Good Lord. Look at that.
Look at what, Mr. Templeton?
Over there, where I'm pointing.
You mean that? It's only an old gravestone covered with weeds and brambles.
I haven't seen that grave in years.
It looks rather neglected.
It is neglected, isn't it? Will you go closer, please, and read the inscription?
Mr. Templeton.
Do as I tell you, please.
It says, let's see if I can get some of these weeds aside. It says, sacred to the memory of Mary Ellen Cleaver, born September 5th, 1892,
Departed this life, March 25th, 1919. Thou shouldst still be adored as this moment thou art. Let thy loveliness fade as it will.
If you lower that umbrella, Mr. Templeton, you'll get soaking wet.
Sentimental trash. But she always liked it.
She always liked it?
Mary Ellen Cleaver.
Did you know her?
Very well indeed. She was my wife.
Your wife? But I never knew you were married.
Neither does anybody else. Where's my flask of brandy? What have I done with it?
It's in your hip pocket, Mr. Templeton, but do you think that's very wise? You've already had more than enough.
Whatever I do is wise, Miss Carroll. Well, we were married very young. She was a nice little thing. I was fond of her, yes. But she couldn't have helped me. I'm not a snob, but she wasn't in my class. No style, you know, no manners, no education.
Indeed.
Could I have introduced her to the friends I was making? No. Wouldn't have been kind to her. She didn't even want to go to the places where I was invited. She'd sit at home and say, "What was it like? Did you have a nice time? What was Mrs. So-and-so wearing?" And she loved me. I'll put that to her credit. But...
You left her?
I thought it was the kindest thing to do, yes. She went away. Then I heard she'd had...
Had what?
Nothing. Doesn't matter. Well, there was a war on. I attended the peace conference in Europe. Never even knew she was dead until I heard some friends had buried her. I always promised to call her up. She said she'd come back to me if I did.
Well, you couldn't call her up now, Mr. Templeton, even if you wanted to.
No, I suppose not. But I was fond of her. I wish there was something I could do.
Well, you could have her grave cared for. Have some flowers put on it.
That's it. That's an idea. She'd have liked that. Can you take care of that for me?
I'll look after it tomorrow morning, Mr. Templeton.
But how will they ever be able to locate the grave? There must be thousands in this cemetery.
Well, each grave has a number, you know, cut into the stone so you can identify it. This is number 1212.
1212. Sounds like a telephone number, doesn't it?
Yes, doesn't it?
Meadowvale 1212. Poor girl. I was fond of her.
Please, Mr. Templeton, come along and please, no more brandy. You've got a funeral to attend.
And then, Wilmot, the night came. And the horror.
What horror? Oh, take it easy, man. There's nothing to worry about. You were sitting here in the Cosmopolites Club.
Yes, but I wasn't sitting in the club last night. I was on my way home.
And why should that scare you?
I don't know, but it did. I'd been jumpy all day. That infernal number kept running through my head. Meadowvale 1212. Have you ever seen my house?
Yes, it's that big sham Gothic place on Riverside Drive, isn't it?
Yes, big and dark and drafty like a mausoleum. I told you it was moving house to an apartment downtown. But there were some papers there. I had to get out of the safe in the library to take with me to Washington tomorrow. I knew the servants would be gone, of course. But I hoped Mrs. Bloom, that's my housekeeper, would still be there. Then, when I went up the park, about 6:30...
Meadowvale 1212. Meadowvale 1212. Meadowvale 1212.
Meadowvale 1212.
Mr. Templeton, this is a surprise.
Sorry to trouble you, Mrs. Bloom. I seem to have mislaid my key. The other could have sworn I had it on the key ring this morning.
It's no trouble, Mr. Templeton. Only, I hope you're not planning to spend the night here.
No, I'm going to a hotel. Why do you ask?
Because they've disconnected everything except the electricity and taken away most of the furniture.
I haven't touched anything in the library.
No, sir. I told them you said to leave that. But it does seem a pity in a way.
What seems a pity?
To break up a lovely home like this after all these years.
Home? This big, ugly picture gallery?
It's been a home to me, sir.
Well, I've treated you generously, haven't I?
Yes, sir. I'm sorry.
I've got several hours' work to do, Mrs. Bloom. A whole safe full of papers to sort over. I'm going to the library and... What's that you're hiding behind your back?
I'm not hiding anything, sir.
All the same, what is it?
It's only a music box, sir.
I found it in the attic when the moving men were here. If I hadn't known there were, well, no ladies in your life, I'd have said it belonged to one of them. I love to hear them, sir. May I?
Mrs. Bloom.
Yes, sir.
If you don't want me to smash that music box, turn it off.
Yes, sir, I'm sure I never...
I'm going to the library. If you can find any sandwiches and coffee, bring them.
Yes, sir.
Excuse me. Same old library. Same old claw-footed desk. There's the Venetian mirror she bought for you. Look at yourself in the mirror, Templeton. Admit you can't face it. Admit you can't work here tonight. Admit you've got to have lights and music and... That's it. Go out for dinner. Telephone Wilmot. If they've left the phone... Oh, yes, good. Here it is. Hello.
Yes, sir. Number, please. Number, please.
I want, Meadowvale 1212.
Meadowvale 1212.
Wait, what the devil's name am I saying? Change that, I want...
Hello, my darling. I knew you'd call me when you needed me.
Who's that speaking? Who are you?
It's Mary Ellen, dear. Don't you recognize my voice?
You're not Mary Ellen. This is a trick. Mary Ellen is dead.
Yes, dear. But the dead sleep lightly, and they can be lonely, too. And now that you do need me...
I don't need you. I don't need anybody.
I'm coming back to join you, dear. It's not easy, but I'll be there by the time the clock strikes 7. I'll wear a veil because I don't look very pretty.
I won't have this. I won't listen to you. I won't.
Goodbye, my dear. Remember, when the clock strikes 7...
Mrs. Bloom.
Mr. Templeton, what on earth is the matter?
Who's been playing tricks on me?
Tricks, sir, I don't understand.
Who spoke to me on this phone?
But, sir, nobody could have spoken to you on that phone.
Nobody could have. What are you talking about?
That phone's disconnected, sir.
Disconnected?
Yes, sir. The man came here this afternoon and took that little metal box off the wall and rolled all the wires up and put everything on the desk there. Said he'd be back tomorrow to take it away.
Mrs. Bloom, that's impossible.
Look for yourself, sir. You're standing in the middle of the room holding that phone, and the wires don't lead anywhere.
That's true.
So you couldn't very well have talked to anybody on the phone that wasn't connected? Now, could you?
I tell you, I got the operator. I heard it ring. I talked to someone else.
Oh? And what did that person say?
She said she'd be here to visit me when...
Mr. Templeton, what's the matter?
And so, Wilmot, that's what happened last night. The phone was disconnected. It was Mary Ellen's voice. There's no doubt about that. Am I out of my mind or what?
Before I say anything about that, my friend.
Well?
Let's hear the end of your story. What did happen when the clock struck 7?
I don't know.
You don't know?
No, I lost my head. Ran out of that house as though the devil were after me. Maybe he was.
And since then?
I spent the night at the hotel. Today, I've walked past that house 50 times, 100 times, trying to muster up enough nerve to go in. I couldn't do it, but I've got to go in there.
Why?
It's those papers I've got to take to Washington.
Send somebody else to get them.
I can't do that, Wilmot. It's confidential information for the government. I've thought of everything. I've even bought a revolver, see?
For the love of heaven, man, put that gun away. You want the other club members to think you have gone insane?
Then I thought of you. You know all the tricks of fake spiritualists. You've written about it and lectured about it.
Which reminds me, by the way, that I'm lecturing before the Acropolis Club in about 20 minutes.
You've got to break that engagement, Wilmot.
Why?
Because you're going with me to my house tonight, now.
Oh, that's impossible, old man. Now sit quietly and listen to me. I'll go with you willingly, tomorrow morning.
That's too late. I'm taking an early plane to Washington.
Well, then wait until I can get away from the lecture. Say, around midnight. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll take a taxi and join you as soon as I can.
That won't do. I've got to know the answer now. You understand?
Aren't you being a little unreasonable about this?
Unreasonable or not, I usually get my own way, and I mean to have it now.
Well, then I'm afraid you'll have to go to the house alone. Besides...
You know, Wilmot, you worry me. You sit there puffing at that pipe and looking at me out of those queer eyes of yours like a young Satan. I've often wondered what you were really thinking about.
Since you flatter my intelligence so much, I was wondering whether you'd been quite frank with me.
Frank with you, how?
About your late wife, Mary Ellen Kleber.
What about her?
Well, after she left you, something happened that, you don't like to talk about. Was there, by any chance, a child, a son, for instance, or...
Did you say a son?
Yes.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, then let's agree not to understand each other, shall we?
Now, are you coming with me or aren't you?
I tell you, man, I'll get there as soon as I can.
All I can think about is the wet red clay in that cemetery, and the dismal grave in the rain, and what her face might look like if she raised the veil. And what am I going to see in that house? What am I going to see in that house?
So the clocks chime, the hours dwindle, and the traffic roar of the city sinks to a low growl behind twinkling lights. It is midnight, when a taxi moves along a certain street towards a certain house out of a bygone age. Lightless, black against the stars, surrounded by iron railings and with a path bordered by fir trees leading to the front door. Look, too, with the face of Mr. Patrick Wilmot when that taxi draws near.
All right, driver. This is the place.
I'll be in wait for you, sir.
No, you needn't wait. Keep the change.
Thank you, sir. Good night.
So the front gate is open. And he did go in. And... I beg your pardon. I didn't mean to bump into you.
Mr. Wilmot.
You know who I am.
Oh, yes. I've seen you several times at our office. I'm Molly Carroll, Mr. Templeton's secretary.
What are you doing here?
Well, it's Mr. Templeton.
What about him?
Well, that's what I want to know. I was out with Frank, that's my fiancé, and when I got home, the girl I room with said that Mr. Templeton had been phoning and phoning all evening. She said he sounded drunk or something. He wanted somebody to go with him to this house.
Evidently, I wasn't the only person he applied to. Shall we go in?
Yes, but the whole house is dark. Suppose he isn't there.
He's there, all right. You don't know men like Bert Templeton.
But
I'll push the gate wider. Now, straight up the walk to the front door. I've got a flashlight.
What are we going to find?
Something rather unpleasant, I'd better warn you.
How do you know?
I have my ways of knowing, Miss Carroll.
Oh, look.
What is it?
That French window to the left of the front door.
Yes.
It's partly open.
Well, there's nothing in that, necessarily. Templeton said he'd lost his key. He might have had to open a window.
Oh, that's true, but...
So you see it, too, do you?
See what?
There's a footprint across the sill of that French window. A footprint made in wet clay.
It's like the clay of the cemetery.
So I should imagine. Will you go in first, or shall I?
Into that dark room, I will not.
Well, then stay here, please, until I get some lights on.
No, wait. I'll go. Let me take your arm.
All right, be careful now. Yes, I thought so. This room is the library. And there are more footprints of somebody or something walking in. They lead... Who's there? Who's there?
It's only me, sir. Mrs. Bloom, the housekeeper.
Then what's the idea of standing in a dark room in the middle of the night with what sounds like...
It's only a music box, sir. I left it behind along with some other things and came back to get them. I've got my own key. I thought I heard a noise in here.
But why aren't there any lights?
The electricity's cut off, sir. It was cut off today.
I see. If Templeton is here, or was here, he must have had some kind of light. If I turn this flashlight on the desk, maybe... Be quiet, Miss Carroll.
What is it, sir? I'm as blind as a bat without my glasses.
It's Mr. Templeton. He's lying on the floor beside the desk.
Oh, he isn't...
No, he isn't dead. His face is the color of putty. I think he's had some kind of stroke. We'd better not take any chances. Mrs. Bloom?
Yes, sir.
Get outside to the nearest telephone and call for an ambulance. Tell him it's an emergency case.
You're Mr. Wilmot, aren't you? But what happened to him?
Ask a dead woman.
I beg your pardon.
Never mind. Hurry.
Of course I'll hurry, Mr. Wilmot.
What are we going to do?
Now, let's have a look around. Templeton seems to have been working at his papers by the light of a couple of candles, which somebody's blown out. We'll relight them. There's the desk. There's all the papers scattered round
Mr.
him.
Wilmot, please. What happened to him?
I'll tell you. As he sat there in the dim light of two candles, a ghostly figure appeared at that French window. It wore a long, old-fashioned skirt and a heavy black veil to hide the face. It walked toward Templeton, tracking graveyard clay. It stretched its arms to him like this.
Keep away from me, please.
Templeton couldn't stand it. He collapsed. And now, before the old housekeeper returns, would you care to hear how the whole trick was worked?
Trick? What trick?
Have you heard about the ghost voice that talked on a disconnected telephone?
Oh, yes. Yes, he said something about it this morning, but I thought he wasn't himself.
He wasn't, but he heard it. Remember Mrs. Bloom's story about the telephone man?
Yes.
They don't send a man round to yank the whole apparatus off the wall, put it on the desk, and say he'll be back for it next day. This man from the telephone company was an imposter.
The man from the telephone company was an imposter?
Exactly.
Oh, look, he's moving his hand. He's trying to open his eyes. Isn't there anything we can do for him?
No, there's nothing we can do till the doctor arrives. In the meantime, listen to me.
All right. What did this imposter do?
He took away the real phone and substituted a spirit telephone. You don't know what a spirit telephone is?
No, of course not.
It's an old device used by fake mediums. You see a telephone without wires standing on a desk, like that one. You pick up the receiver and talk to the dead. Of course, you never really talk into the phone at all.
But if you don't talk into the phone, then...
Fixed underneath the desk is a tiny microphone with hidden wires leading to another room in the same house. That microphone picks up every word you think you are saying to the phone. Is that clear?
I think so.
Now, the dummy telephone is really a low-power radio receiving set. Somebody in another room can talk back to you after hearing what you say on the wired microphone.
Then, Mr. Templeton...
If Templeton hadn't rung Meadowvale 1212, then rest assured that same number would have rung him.
Well, then the scheme couldn't fail either way.
But, you see, there's one thing in this matter I haven't got quite clear even yet.
And what's that?
Tell me, Miss Carroll, just why did you work this whole trick? Why did you try to scare your father to death?
My father?
Templeton is your father, isn't he?
That might be rather difficult to prove, Mr. Wilmot.
By George, I admire you.
Thanks very much. I'm flattered.
Expressionless as ever. Eyes as hard and cold and blue and handsome as... Well, make your own comparisons. But I knew you were guilty, of course, when I heard your fiancé was a radio technician.
You can leave Frank out of this.
Oh, you have scruples. Have I touched you?
Nothing can touch me. Not since my mother died.
Your fiancé installed the ghost mechanism and took it away today. He probably thought it was only a joke.
He did. I swear he did.
And the rest of it was plain enough. Who led Templeton to the wrong gate in the cemetery, past that woman's grave? You did. Who was the only one who could have stolen the key to this house off that key ring he took to the office? You were. You needed that key to come and go as you liked and impersonate the two voices on the phone.
Is there any need to go on with this? He killed her, you know.
You mean Templeton killed your mother?
Oh, not with a knife or a bullet or poison. All he did was break her heart. And that's no offense in law.
Steady now.
Well, I've done what I wanted to do. I've torn his whole rotten life to pieces. And there he is, gasping for breath on the floor. And I'm glad. Oh, God, forgive me. He is my father.
Does he know you're his daughter?
No, of course not. When I went to work for him as a secretary, he hadn't even seen me since I was a child. But I got near him. I worked for years to get near him. No, I wish I hadn't.
No, look here, you've got to pull yourself together.
Why? Who cares?
That's the ambulance coming and maybe the police.
What do I care? Tell the police what you like.
My dear girl, you don't think I'll tell them anything. I'm merely an onlooker. An amateur Satan who doesn't believe in ghost voices.
Mary Ellen.
What's that?
Templeton, his eyes are open. He's trying to get up.
Mary Ellen.
It's as though he could see something that we can't
What's
see.
that he's got in his hand?
It's a revolver. He had one at the club.
He's putting it against his chest. I'll stop him.
Look out! Look out!
Oh, he did love her after all. And now he's tried to join her. Oh, don't let him die.
He's all right, Molly. You grabbed the gun just in time.
If he doesn't die, I'll make it up to him. I swear I'll make it up to him.
I tell you now, he's not going to die. But...
Mary Ellen. Mary Ellen.
What?
Mary Ellen.
But what? But what?
Mary Ellen.
I was just wondering. Is there a ghost in this room tonight?
And so closes The Dead Sleep Lightly, starring Walter Hampton, Susan Hayward, and Lee Bowman. Tonight's tale of Suspense. This is your narrator, the man in black, who conveys to you Columbia's invitation to spend this half hour in suspense with us again next Tuesday. Miss Hayward appeared through the courtesy of Paramount Pictures, and Mr. Bowman appeared through the courtesy of Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer Studios. William Spear, the producer, John Dietz, the director, Bernard Herrmann, the composer-conductor, and John Dixon Carr, the author, collaborated on tonight's Suspense.
This is the Columbia Broadcasting System.
This is the Man in Black, here again to introduce Columbia's program, Suspense. Our distinguished star this evening is the stage and screen favorite, Mr. Paul Lukas, whose performances in The Lady Vanishes and in the stage production The Watch on the Rhine you will recall with pleasure. Tonight's tale of suspense is a story by John Dixon Carr, Fire, Burn, and Cauldron Bubble. If you've been with us on these Tuesday nights, you will know that suspense is compounded of mystery and suspicion and dangerous adventure. In this series are tales calculated to intrigue you, to stir your nerves, to offer you a precarious situation and then withhold the solution until the last possible moment. And so with Fire, Burn, and Cauldron Bubble and the performance of Paul Lukas and the other members of our company, we again hope to keep you in.
Drury Lane Theatre presents the distinguished American actor, Myron Willard, in Shakespeare's Macbeth, with magic effects especially designed by Ludwig von Arnheim.
Historic Drury Lane Theatre, a relic of old London. On this site, in the cramped and crooked lanes of Aldwych, there has been a playhouse since Nell Gwynn sold oranges in the pit. The present theatre, though modernized, is heavy and darkened with time. By daylight, it is a dinginess of red plush seats, haunted by old ghosts. But at night, when the lights bloom for some new production, when the murmur of a crowd fills the carpeted aisles and the orchestra begins to tune up, it is kindled with that strange magic before the rise of the curtain.
What's this way, sir? E12 and 13 program.
chocolate?
Thank you.
No, Madam. This is Roe. Your seat's a G4.
And backstage, where nerves crawl and there is a tendency to scream, the three witches of the play are huddled around the peephole in the curtain, looking out into the audience. They are hideous-looking creatures, these witches, in gray rags like cobwebs. But as they speak...
Dear, I am scared.
Don't let it bother you, darling. You can't even see the audience when the floats are on. There's nothing to worry about.
Nothing except the size of the take at the box office.
You won't even have to worry about that tonight. Look out there.
You two are shaking as much as I am. Now, don't pretend.
All right, all right. Everybody's jumpy on first night.
What I can't understand is why they want to use young girls as witches and then make us talk in cracked voices as though we were 80.
Double, double, toil and trouble, fire, burn, and cauldron bubble.
Oh, what's that?
Katie, darling, it's only one of the ghost effects. You've been hearing it for weeks at rehearsals. I will say this for Myron Willard, as an actor and a manager, too. He's the first one who's ever had a real professional magician to do the ghost effects for this ham show.
Oh, are they, Celia? Look there.
Where?
Out in the audience in the second upper box on the left-hand side.
Oh.
Don't you see the woman who's just coming in?
Yes, I can see her. Not a bad-looking bit of goods for her age. What about her?
But that's Marcia Blair.
Marcia Blair?
You don't mean you've never heard of her?
I can't say I have either, if it comes to that. Move over, Ivy. Give us a squint.
Marcia Blair used to be Mr. Willard's leading lady. She was a very great actress 15 years ago.
Oh, 15 years ago.
She's had a terribly romantic history, but she's made lots of money and retired from the stage. Then she married some horrible no-good, and... Do you see that tall gray-haired man standing beside her?
Well, he doesn't look much like a no-good.
That's not the man I mean, Celia. That's Howard White, her second husband.
Oh.
They say he loved her for years and followed her about and practically worshipped her. But she was married to this no-good and wouldn't get a divorce.
Then the no-good died, I suppose. So Marcia Blair and her faithful Howard got married.
Yes. I remember reading in the paper that they've been married 1 year tonight. I expect they're very happy.
And I'd be happy, too, if I had a mink coat and a string of pearls like that.
Well, you've got to admit she's beautiful.
All right, Katie, if you say so.
I used to go and see her act when I was a little girl. She was kind of an idol. I wonder what they're saying to each other up in that box now. I wonder what they're saying.
Dear, I wish you wouldn't be so uneasy. Nothing can happen to you here.
You're uneasy yourself, Howard.
Yes, I suppose I am a little.
Howard, I know I shouldn't be talking like this on our first anniversary, but that's what worries me. What if Barry isn't dead? What if he isn't dead?
Oh, listen to me, darling. Your late husband, heaven condemn his soul, died in New York more than a year ago. We have proof of that.
Well, then who wrote those letters to me?
I don't know, dear. Somebody playing a joke on you.
Joke? If you marry him, Marcia, you won't be alive a year from then. Joke.
But you're married to me, my dear, and you are alive.
Shall I quote you something from another play, Howard?
Well?
The Ides of March are come. I, Caesar, but not gone. And it's still 2 hours. 2 hours to the time we were actually married.
Oh, look here, dear. This is carrying an obsession too far.
It would be just like Barry to wait until the last moment, just to make it worse. You knew him.
Yes, I knew him.
He was a genius.
I suppose so. As a mere businessman, I've never quite understood this theatrical temperament, except yours, of course.
Barry was a greater actor than Myron Willard will ever be. Barry could play anything, from a Cockney to King Lear. His skill at makeup wasn't merely good. It was terrifying. Oh, Howard, I am frightened. Suppose he's managed to get close to us tonight, and yet we can't see him.
Well, the music started, Marcia. I shall have to go.
Must you go, Howard? Really?
If I break this appointment with Ferndale, dear, the deal will be called off. And since I haven't got too much backing anyway,
All right, dear. I understand. Go ahead.
Unless you wanted to come with me.
And Miss Myron's opening tonight? Oh, I couldn't do that.
I tell you, you'll be perfectly safe here, dear.
Of course, Howard. I know that.
You're in full view of 3,000 people. Nobody could attack you. The only door to this box is guarded.
Outside that door will be Miss Fenton, who's devoted to you, and the chauffeur who's even more devoted to you. What could happen, dear?
Nothing that could. And I'd prefer to be alone anyway.
Yes, I rather guessed that.
Oh, please, dear. It's just that I can't endure anybody being with me when I'm watching a great play. But that doesn't include you, darling.
Then, if you'll accept these, madam, in honor of our first anniversary...
Oh, Howard. Well, they're lovely. Of course I'll accept them.
And here's a program. Got everything else you need?
Yes. Yes, I think so.
I just opened the door to the passage to make sure our watchdogs are on guard. Yes, they're out there, all right. Good night, Marcia. See you in an hour or two.
Good night, Howard. And good luck.
Miss Fenton, Bradley.
Yes, Mr. White.
Yes, sir. Anything wrong? Miss Fenton, you've been my wife's companion secretary for 5 or 6 years.
Yes, Mr. White, and I've loved every minute of it.
And you, Bradley, you haven't been my chauffeur for quite so long, but they tell me you're an ex-wrestler.
That's right, sir. Champion of the Shoreditch Athletic Club. And in my prime, though I says it as shouldn't, as good a man as ever climbed through the ropes.
Now, you know your instructions, Bradley.
You trust me, sir. Nobody gets into this here box tonight unless it's over my dead body.
Nothing must happen, do you understand? Nothing.
Please, you're as white as paper.
As for you, Miss Fenton, I'm afraid it's a little awkward. I know I ought to ask you to go in and join Marcia, but...
Oh, you needn't apologize, Mr. White. I know she doesn't want company. She'll be leaning forward with her elbows on the box rail, just as she always does. She isn't merely watching a play. She's acting, Lady Macbeth. Every line, every gesture. And I don't mean to disturb her.
You won't leave this door, either of you.
You trust me, sir. If... Oh, no.
Well, anything wrong, Bradley?
There's a very rummy-looking cove coming along the passage, sir, wearing a big black cloak with a red lining.
Oh, that man, Bradley. That's only Herr von Arnheim. He's a professional magician and escape artist. I was just wondering... Excuse me.
Don't worry, Mr. White. We'll look after her.
Von Arnheim. I say von Arnheim.
Thou canst not say I did it. Never shake the gory locks at me.
I beg your pardon?
And I beg yours, my friend. I was merely quoting a line from the play. You are not leaving the theater. Surely not walking out on Macbeth.
I'm afraid I've got to.
Oh, that's a pity, my friend. You will miss some of my best effects, to say nothing of Shakespeare's. When Banquo's ghost appears at the table.
I don't want to hear any more about ghosts, thanks. Banquo's or anybody else's.
I imagine you mean your wife's late husband.
You've heard about it, then?
Yes, your wife has told me a good deal. She seems to think that in my profession I might have some charm over demons or spell against ghosts.
You know, Von Arnheim, in a muddled kind of way, that's what I've been wondering myself.
Unfortunately, no. I am all too human. But your problem interests me. And I confess it worries me.
Worries you? What about me?
As I understand it, her first husband was a half-mad American actor who later went completely mad and died in New York. His, what's the word I want?
Oh, obsession?
That's it, obsession. His obsession was Marcia Blair's eyes.
Yes, always her eyes. They seemed to hypnotize him.
It is not new, you know. You'll find the same motive, the eyes of a beautiful woman, all through the works of Edgar Allan Poe. Then, as I understand it, after this man's death, she began to receive a series of letters.
Foul letters.
Apparently written by him, and threatening her with some rather horrible form of death if she married you.
I tell you, Barry Lake is dead. He can't get up out of his coffin.
Oh, getting out of coffins, my friend, is not so difficult. I have done it myself.
Oh, please stop joking, Von Arnheim. You don't happen to be dead.
True. There is that small difference. Is your wife here in the theater tonight?
Yes. She wouldn't have come here except that it's Marion Willard's first night. We haven't seen Marion, either of us, in years. She's back there in box D.
So I hear. I was hoping that you might invite me to share the box.
Look here, old man. I don't want to seem inhospitable, but...
she doesn't want company?
Well, that's about it.
Well, then walk back a little distance with me, this way, so that we can see the stage from the back of the dress circle. Now, the orchestra has stopped, and they'll ring up in a moment. There. Look at it.
Look at what?
The stage, man. The lights have gone out. All except dim yellow footlights shining at the curtain. The last cough, the last murmur, the last rustle of program dies away in one vast, breathing hush. The curtain goes up.
Let go of my arm, Von Arnheim. I've got to leave.
Now, what are the stage directions? Desert place. Thunder and lightning. Enter 3 witches. When, indeed, I wonder. I beg your pardon, Von Arnheim. Do you speak? No, it was nothing.
London newspapers for that year 1936, you may read how Myron Willard triumphed at Drury Lane as Macbeth. But tonight, as the clock ticks on, there is another drama in the dimly lighted corridor outside Box D. There sits Miss Louise Fenton, Marcia Blair's companion secretary. Beside her, burly and broken-nosed, is big Jim Bradley, the ex-wrestler. And when more than half an hour has passed...
There's the applause, Jim. That must be the end of the first act.
Yes, I hear it. Nothing's happened. And take my word for it, nothing's going to happen.
Oh, she's such a likable person, Jim. And I think one of our greatest Shakespearean actresses.
Well, I don't much care for this Shakespeare business, miss. You give me a good movie with gangsters in it. It's my style.
Oh, you don't understand, Jim. I've seen her as Juliet, as Rosalind, as Portia, in our own drawing room without any props. I've heard her as Lady Macbeth, too. You should see her eyes.
Her eyes, miss?
Yes, you should see her eyes when she delivers that speech. The raven himself is hoarse that croaks the fatal entrance.
Hey, miss, look there.
Well, what is it?
That foreign-looking cove in the black cape. Coming along the passage now. Easy.
I beg your pardon. You are Miss Louise Fenton, aren't you?
Yes, my name is Fenton. What is it?
I am looking for Arnheim, a friend of Mr. White's. And I must see Marcia Blair at once.
No, you don't, Governor. You're not going in there.
Why not?
Because nobody goes in there. Not if it was the king himself. That's orders.
Now listen to me, both of you. When the lights went on, I happened to be looking at Box D from the other side of the theater. And I think there is something wrong.
But there can't be anything wrong. Jim Bradley and I have been sitting here the whole time. Except, of course...
Except when?
Well, except when I went in there for a few seconds.
You went in there, Miss Fenton? May I ask when that was?
Well, it was after Mr. White had gone and just before the play started. I went in to ask if she wanted anything. She said she didn't, so I came out again. And Bradley's been with me all the time, except when he went to get a drink of water up the corridor.
That's as true as gospel, Governor.
One moment, and listen to me. Marcia Blair is leaning forward across the railing of the box.
Oh, but that's nothing, Herr von Arnheim. That's the way she always is.
Does she always fall forward with her arms held straight out and her head down on her arms?
You better be careful, miss. It's a trick.
Trick? Why not open the door and see for yourselves? Would that do any harm?
No, I suppose it wouldn't, but... Oh, there must be some mistake. We haven't heard a sound from in there. There couldn't be anything wrong.
You open the door, Miss Fenton. I'm going to hold tight to this gentleman, just in case.
Quiet, please. Quiet.
What is it, miss?
Oh.
Walk in there with me, both of you. Please go carefully, as though nothing were wrong. We don't want to attract attention. Now.
Oh, Herr von Arnheim. There's blood all over her face.
Yes. And don't begin screaming again, Miss Fenton, when I tell you she's dead. Bradley?
Yes, sir?
Pick Miss Blair's body up and carry her out into the corridor. In another minute, we'll have the whole theater wanting to know what's wrong.
All right, sir. You win. But what about the people in the other boxes? Won't they see?
They've gone down to the bar to get a drink. They won't see anything. Hurry.
She ain't no lightweight, the poor lady ain't. Steady does it. Hold the door open. That's got it. Now, close the door. Shall I put her down on the floor, Governor?
Yes, better do that.
I never took those threats seriously. That's what I blame myself for. And if something did happen, well, I thought he'd attack her. I never thought he'd hide away across the theater and fire a shot.
And you were quite right, Miss Fenton. Marcia Blair was not shot.
She wasn't shot.
No. Take a look at the wound.
Oh, I can't look at it.
She was stabbed. Stabbed through the right eye with a narrow, sharp blade, which entered her brain and killed her instantly. Not a pretty death, but a quick one.
You seem to know a lot about this, Governor.
Perhaps I do, my friend, and perhaps I can guess a lot more.
You mean somebody stood out there and threw a knife at her? Like a ruddy music hall turn?
No, I don't mean that either. There's no knife in the wound and none in the box. The murderer took it away.
Took it away?
Exactly.
Herr von Arnheim, please wait. You're not saying someone climbed up from outside, 20 or 30 feet from the floor, and stabbed poor Marcia in full sight of 3,000 people?
That, Miss Fenton, is what the evidence seems to indicate.
But it's impossible.
Yet it happened. There is Marcia Blair's body. What's that?
Oh, it's the warning bell for the second act. People will be coming back here any minute. What are we going to do?
Acclaim, triumph. Myron Willard as Macbeth. Helen Gale as Lady Macbeth. Magical effects by Ludwig van Arnheim. Very few persons knew that there is a dead woman in the theater. But at the end of the play, it is a different story. The crowd files out, past a cordon of police. The lights are extinguished. The great theater is dark and mumbling with echoes. See the stage now. Only the battens or overhead lights pour down a pale blaze on two men who stand grotesquely against the background of Dunsinane Castle. One of these men is Howard White, very near collapse. The other is Myron Willard himself, still wearing his makeup, still wearing helmet and chain mail. And when Willard speaks...
Howard! Howard White! Confounded man, can't you hear what I'm saying?
Excuse me, madam. This is almost finished.
Oh, not that I am blaming you, old man.
Thank you, madam.
It's traditional, you know, that Macbeth's an unlucky play. But up to the very end, I thought I'd never done better. 11 curtain calls. No, 12. How did you like my tomorrow and tomorrow speech?
I'm sorry, madam. I'm afraid I didn't hear it.
Yes, poor old Marcia. She'd have hated to die like that. Marcia was proud of her eyes. Always nearsighted as an owl, but too vain to wear glasses. There's Van Arnheim looking at us from under the castle archway. Van Arnheim!
Did you call me, my friend? You're rather difficult to recognize under all that Macbeth makeup.
Yes, I was just thinking the same thing.
Never mind that. Where are the police now?
At the moment, Mr. Willard, the police are in your dressing room. They are using it for questioning.
No reception tonight, of course.
No, but I thought you might be interested in two items of information that police have just discovered.
Well, go on.
We had a fairly full house tonight, I believe.
Fairly full. Every seat was reserved.
Reserved, yes, but not occupied.
I don't follow you.
One box on the ground floor, box E to be exact, was empty. Reserved and paid for, but empty. And box E, oddly enough, was just underneath the one occupied by Marcia Blair.
Well, all the same, I still don't see quite what you're...
Now, our next item of information comes from an usher. An outside aisle seat in the stores, very close to that empty box, was occupied by a very curious stranger who arrived late in the dark and slipped out again by a nearby exit a few minutes afterwards.
Just one moment, Von Arnheim. Are you saying this stranger climbed up and attacked Marcia in full view of the audience?
No, my friend. The murderer did not approach from that direction.
Then he must have reached Marcia through the door, guarded by Bradley and Miss Fenton?
No, not from that direction either.
Confound it, man. It must have been one way or the other.
Not necessarily.
Now, tell me, Howard, don't you think I've got enough troubles already without this nightmare on top of it?
Herr von Arnheim. Herr von Arnheim.
You must take it easy, Miss Fenton. You must not excite yourself. Have the police
Yes.
been...
Look, you've got to help me. They won't believe me.
They won't believe the young lady, sir, and that's a fact. I've tried to help her all I can, but there's things I can swear to and things I can't.
You see, I did go into that box. Oh, just for a couple of seconds, I admit it. But no other person went in or could have got in. So they say, or at least they're hinting that I killed her. But I swear I never touched her.
Who was questioning you, Miss Fenton? Inspector Grimes or Sergeant Blake?
I'm not sure. The sergeant, I think.
Then I shouldn't worry if I were you. Inspector Grimes knows better. He's guessed, in fact, exactly what I have guessed.
You seem on rather familiar terms with the police, my friend.
I am Mr. Willard. I am. Anyone who practices escapes from handcuffs, sacks, chests...
And stage boxes, perhaps.
Stage boxes, if you insist. Excuse me. Isn't that Inspector Grimes in the wings now?
Yes, and he's nodding his head.
Then I can tell you, I think, what you want to know.
Well, if you do happen to know anything, it's your duty to speak up. Poor Marcia seems to have had some ridiculous idea that her former husband, Barry Lake, was still alive. Her fears weren't justified, of course, and she wasn't killed by any dead husband.
I beg your pardon. Her fears were justified, though not quite in the way she believed. And she was killed by her husband.
Then Barry Lake is still alive.
No, Barry Lake is dead.
What? You don't mean Marcia was really killed by a ghost?
No. I mean she was killed by her devoted second husband, Mr. Howard White.
You hear what they say? That's not true. It's a slanderous statement. I'll have you in court for it. Everybody knows how devoted I was to Marcia.
Your devotion, my friend, was devotion to her money. And your business affairs have been shaky for a long time.
That's not true, and you can't prove it.
Marcia Blair was inclined to be, shall we say, a little close-fisted with money.
That's true anyway.
It's a lie.
Willing to marry him, but Mr. Howard White knew he'd never touch a penny unless he killed her. He wrote the letters himself.
Herr von Arnheim, he can't be guilty. She was alive after he left the box. He wasn't anywhere near her when she died.
Perfectly correct, Miss Fenton.
He wasn't there, and yet he killed her.
Exactly. But you and Bradley can supply the clue that will hang him.
Me, sir? I don't know nothing.
No, I don't either.
I think you do if you'll put your mind to it. Do you remember what Howard White said to her just before he left the box?
Yes, he said, "Good night, Marcia. See you in an hour or two." And she answered, "Good night and good luck."
No, I mean just before that.
There wasn't anything.
You see? It's a slanderous statement without any proof. It's an insult to my position on the stock exchange.
Wait. I do remember something rather queer.
Think, Miss Fenton, think.
He said to Marcia jokingly, "If you'll accept these, madam, in honor of our first anniversary." And Marcia said, "Howard, they're lovely. Of course I'll accept them."
That's right, sir. He did say it.
And what do you think he was referring to, Miss Fenton? What was he asking her to accept?
Well, I imagined it was flowers, a corsage or something like that.
Did you see any flowers in the box or pinned to Marcia Blair's gown?
No. Now, come to think of it, I didn't.
Then what did he give her?
Don't look at me, sir.
Now, here is a woman who is very nearsighted, yet refuses to wear glasses. But she can accept a pair of...
Opera glasses.
It's a lie. You can't prove it.
Hold on, sir. Go. You better stay here, Governor.
Thank you, Bradley, but the place is surrounded with police.
But I still don't understand.
Now, what happens when you lift opera glasses to your eyes and they are not in focus? You turn the little wheel in the middle to bring them into focus. For Marcia Blair, it was deadly.
You mean the glasses had...
Yes, they were specially constructed glasses, Miss Fenton. They were invented by a French criminal years ago. That little wheel is a little trigger. It releases the spring of a sharp, thin blade which strikes through the eyes into the brain.
Oh, don't, please.
You can't prove it.
Marcia Blair died instantly. The glasses torn from her eye by their own weight dropped over the box rail to the carpeted aisle below. The only witnesses who might have noticed would have been the people in the box just underneath.
And that box was empty.
By arrangement, yes. Even if anybody did see them fall, Howard White was prepared to remove the evidence instantly. You haven't forgotten the curious stranger.
Curious stranger?
I mean the man who slipped in after it was dark, took an IFC just under the box, and slipped out again a few minutes later.
It's a bag of lies from start to finish. You can't prove a word of it.
I beg your pardon, my friend. Didn't you see Inspector Grimes nod to me a moment ago?
Well?
You are going to hang, my friend, for one of the neatest and cruelest crimes in my experience. The police have just found those opera glasses with a neat set of fingerprints in the side pocket of your motor car.
And so ends Fire Burn and Cauldron Bubble, starring the distinguished actor Paul Lukas. Tonight's tale of suspense. This is your narrator, Ted Osborne, the man in black, who conveys to you Columbia's invitation to spend this half hour in suspense with us again next Tuesday. Same time, when Nancy Coleman stars in Fear Paints a Picture. William Spear, the producer, John Dietz, the director, Bernard Herrmann, the composer-conductor, Robert Salmon, studio technician, and John Dixon Carr, the author, collaborated on tonight's Suspense.
This is the Columbia Broadcasting System.